coming up. It is Decker ended as the Soviet lead. Too soon it fell down. Mary Decker has the double.
A hero in Helsinki, Mary Decker, one of the high moments of the inaugural World Championships 4 years ago in Finland. There were many. American Willie Banks involving the crowd, willing them to support his triple jump opponent, Poland's Zdzisław Hoffman. Not only would Hoffman win the gold, he would jump a personal best. And the spirit of that moment, first and second place enjoying each other. And then number two, allowing his victorious opponent his proper place on center stage. Helsinki was not without its memorable disappointments. Those moments are real as well. Those human failures, physical breakdown, second lane inside in red. Evelyn Ashford falls, vying for the title of the world's top female sprinter. A muscle pull, leaving Ashford grounded in the 100-meter finals. But a major championship most of all offers those remarkable highs, moments of triumph. On Tina Lilak's last throw, the Finns would cheer from release to landing. And Lilak earned her country's only victory lap. Other 83 champions, Kova, Kraktokvilova, Koch, Kanto, V. Castello, Hovland. And for the rare few, triumph meant doing something better than anyone else in the world had ever done before.
And here comes Carl Lewis. The Soviet Union in lane one is in second place. Lewis is going after the record. He's got to go. 37.86. 37.86 unofficial. It's the world record of it home.
Four from the United States. King, Galt, Smith, Lewis, a world record to climax the World Championships. Now 4 years from Helsinki, the world's best come to Rome to supply new moments, new records, and new answers to the sport's most basic questions. Can the sprint star of Helsinki and the Los Angeles Olympics beat his Canadian rival for the title, fastest in the world? The next 9 days will tell us who will leap farthest, who will jump highest, and vault highest. And no matter how far the run, who is fastest? And will those who are number one remain the best? And in Rome, will the elegant champions survive the challenge of youth? And are the young, the new, as good as they seem to be? And who is most complete? The greatest all around, woman and man. Beginning today in historic Rome, those who answer best will be champions of the world. Johnson or Carl Lewis. Well, the early morning heats, bad news. Mark Witherspoon of the United States, who fell in the Pan Am Games, finished 5th. He's out. Johnson won his heat easily, and Carl Lewis a blistering 10.05. Now let's go to the second round.
65,000 fans. This is opening day, World Championships, Stadio Olimpico in Rome. And the world record in the men's 100 meters held by Calvin Smith of 9.93. This is the second round in heat number 1. It is Haas, Chacon, Kovacs, Deruel, Linford Christie of Great Britain. Carl Lewis of the United States is in lane 6. Muraviev, and then Robeson de Silva. Carl Lewis in the first round set a championship record, an official 10.05, and Frank, he coasted the last 20 meters.
He might have set the world record had he run all the way through, But Evelyn Ashford said when she heard about that, save it for the final.
Lewis with just a fair start. Linford Christie actually has a better start. And here comes Carl Lewis. It is Lewis and Christie. Christie looks at Lewis, watches him, and Carl Lewis goes through, and Linford Christie stays right with him. Interesting matchups. A slow unofficial 10:39 into a headwind.
Carl in lane 6 in the blue on the left of the screen. Blue top, Linford Christie just to his left, and the white top gets a much better start. Carl doesn't have a great start, but this was not one of his better ones either. Now he starts to move. Between 20 and 80 meters is where Carl really runs. You can see he's just trying to catch Christie. As little effort as possible put into it, and this is where the showmanship comes in. Carl slows down.
Lewis winning easily. Now it'll be interesting, Ben Johnson, the mind games that might be played after that 10:05 in the morning by Lewis. How will he run in his second round? We'll have that when we return.
Men's 100 meters. This is the second round and heat number 4. Calvin Smith set the world record on July the 3rd, 1983 at altitude in Colorado Springs. Andrew Smith is in lane 1. Selmy is in 2. Simone in 3. Ben Johnson, the favorite, is in 4. Raymond Stewart is in 5. Yevgeniev is in 6. Nyamko and Arquez. Here's Ben Johnson. We're looking for a showdown in the finals between Ben Johnson and Carl Lewis, and there may be others. Johnson in 4 with a good start, and Raymond Stewart is in 5, and it is Johnson with Simone in 3, and now Johnson is pulling away, and Stewart is going with him as they just coast through to the semifinals. Johnson, Stewart, and Andre Simone of Cuba.
Ben Johnson is the strongest sprinter in the world today, I would think, judging from the size of his upper body. He uses that strength very well. He had the best start in this field. He's a well-coached athlete. Look how smooth he is. He's winning all the way in this. He eases up and just gets caught at the tape.
Unofficial 10:14 into a slight headwind.
Well, tomorrow we'll have the finals for you, and here are those who advanced to the semifinals and the finals in the afternoon. The Americans led by Lewis, McRae, Johnson of Canada, Stewart and Smith of Jamaica, Christie and McFarland of Great Britain. Brishkin is the top Soviet. Soviets, Nigerians, Cubans on down the line, and Pavoni of Italy will certainly have the crowd in his support. The men's shot put, the Americans with a chance to medal in this event, the finals today. Let's go to Dwight Stones.
This is held by Evelyn Ashford of 10:76. This is the second round. 3 from each heat will move through to the semifinals. To watch here, Nuneva in lane 3. Dressler is in lane 6. This is the first heat in lane 6. It's Heike Dressler, one of the favorites. Nuneva is in lane 3, also one of the favorites. Here's a look at Heike. Does not get that good a start. Remember, you just have to finish in the top 3, and Heike Dressler is going to have to make up some ground, of which she does, and qualifies very easily, along with Nuneva in lane 3 and Zavari in lane 5. In the fourth heat, the ladies to watch: Silke Gladish in lane 3, Adi in 5, Brown in 6. Top 3 move through to the semifinals. Gladish with a pretty good start in 3. It is Adi, Gladish, and Adi right now. Adi leading Gladish, and here comes Alice Brown. And it looks as if Adi, Gladish, and Brown finish in that order, and they'll all move through to the semifinals. Good heat.
And going on to the semifinals tomorrow, and of course we'll also have the finals for you here on NBC tomorrow. Americans represented by Diane Williams, Pam Marshall, and Alice Brown. Adi certainly a top threat. Dressler, Gurr, and Gladish, 3 tough East Germans. Soviets represented with 2 runners. Canada, Bailey and Ishiyenko. Bulgarian pair.
Kivkoech goes for the finish line.
And he seems to be slowing down. Anybody in the world would. 26:37. He is going to run an amazing second half of the race. Panetta is going to get caught, and there's a mistake. Barrios has finished one lap too soon. He thought he was finished the race, and he's not. And now Panetta is dying. He thought he was finished. Kunze in third place, trying to catch Panetta, trying to hold on. Everybody thought the race was over.
What happened was when they came by the other time, it showed 1 lap to go. There was confusion with the 1 lap marker up. They did not have the bell. The bell rang then, and half the field has stopped.
And now, oh, this is terrible. Fortunately, Kipkoech has not slowed down. He is speeding up. But this may rob the Italians of second place because Kunze is closing on Panetta in third place. Here he comes, Paul Kipkoech. Just an incredible, incredible performance. And after all that, 60 seconds for the last quarter, but Panetta is going to hold off Kunze.
Here comes Panetta as he strides for second place. Hans-Jörg Kunze of East Germany will settle for third.
And terrible mistake for Arturo Barrios. He started to sprint too soon. He may have gotten the medal, but now he'll never know. Steve Binns in fifth. Here's Barrios, just dejected. They finished. They thought they had finished. I saw him sprinting with 600 meters to go. I said, boy, is he moving. I guess he wants to get ahead of these people, but he thought he was only 200 meters from the finish. And when you do that, you just don't recover. Paul Kipkoech unofficially has run 13 minutes, 24 seconds for the second 5,000 meters of this race. Clearly the fastest in history. Not only that, a good chance it'll be faster than they run the 5,000 meters men's race.
And
Here's Carl Lewis moving out in front. Carl Lewis slowing up just a bit still. A 10:05, a record for Carl Lewis.
He got out very quickly. In the middle of the race, he's second from the left. He accelerates the way only Carl Lewis can do from 20 to 80 meters. Look at that acceleration, and then backs off through the tape and still sets a record.
It's a championship record. Officially, it is 10:05, but he was backing off the last 15 to 20. In the first heat, Andreas Berger in lane 1 from Austria. Alexander Yevgenyev of the Soviet Union in 2. Lee McRae of the United States is in 3. Eric Aquagicum from Ghana is in 4. Pier Francesco Pavoni of Italy is in 5. Ben Johnson of Canada is in 6. Linford Christie of Great Britain is in 7. And Andrew Smith of Jamaica is in lane 8. In lane 6 on the right, that is Ben Johnson. And next to him on the left is Linford Christie of Great Britain.
Charlie, watch Ben Johnson start. It's unique and novel in the world of track and field. He doesn't step out and rise up slowly. He literally jumps up on both feet when he starts. He feels this makes him much, much faster, and it seems to work because he's the favorite in this event, not Carl Lewis.
Carl Lewis is running in the second semifinal. This is the first. Top 4 finishers will move through to the final later today. And it's a fair start, and Ben Johnson gets a great start, and Johnson is way out in front. Johnson pulling away, and remember, this is the semifinals. Now he'll coast down. Linford Christie will come on to finish second, and the roar of the crowd tells you that it looks as if Pier Francesco Pavoni of Italy will be in the top 4 and will move through to the finals. But Ben Johnson, an awesome display in the semifinals.
Ben Johnson's start was the fastest I've seen in this competition. Lee McRae in lane 3 is supposed to be the fastest starter in the world, but I think Ben Johnson, with his new start, he may be the fastest out of the blocks. Pavoni from Italy seemed to be hurt coming through, maybe pulled something. He qualified, but he's in trouble because he's got to come back in just a little bit of time and try to run in the finals. He's not faking it here.
An unofficial 10-16 into a slight headwind. And, of course, as you can see at the end of this, Ben Johnson coasting in. Look at that leaping start.
Just pop up, and he's up running. Contrary to all track and field theory, he's found a new start, and it works for him. He backs off. That was a 10-flat 100, if anything.
It's Johnson, Christie, and then Pavoni.
Watch Ben Johnson hop up. He pulls up his hands and just, boom, springs up. Look at that. And he is out of there. Boy, if he can keep that start in the finals, we're going to see quite a race. Ben Johnson, and again, very well coached. This is coaching that does this. He's got tons of talent, but he's also well coached.
And it's going to be a photo for fourth place. Lee McRae may be in there. We'll have to wait and see.
So, number 1 in the world, Ben Johnson cruises into the finals. We'll be back with the answer from Carl Lewis in his semi.
Is in 2. Raymond Stewart of Jamaica is in 3. Simone of Cuba is in 4. Victor Brezgin of the Soviet Union is in 5. Chidi Imo of Nigeria is in 6. Antonatsov of Bulgaria in 7. And the great Carl Lewis is in lane 8. The world record, Calvin Smith's 9.93. Carl Lewis in the first round running so well, it was an official 10.05, and that's a championship record, but he was pulling up at the end. He might have had a world record.
Not only that, Charlie, it was at sea level, and the current world record was set at altitude where it is easier to run. The air is thinner.
That black ribbon, of course, on his shirt in honor of his father, who passed away this spring. Carl Lewis in lane 8, top 4 finishers through to the final. And here's Lewis with a good start, but not a great start. And here comes Carl Lewis in lane 8. And Lewis is going to have to battle his way. Now he pulls out in front, and he crosses the finish line first with Raymond Stewart of Jamaica coming through behind him. And a 10.03. If that holds, he has another championship record, and he was coasting again.
Charlie, this race was deceptive because it was a great field. Raymond Stewart from Jamaica on the yellow in the right runs very well. Carl Lewis gets into gear about 50 meters out. Motors in. It looks like he's having a more difficult time, but that's because Stewart is running well too. Carl Lewis 10.03. We may see a world record in the final. Carl Lewis does not have the world's greatest start. He more gets out even. So in the final, he's going to have some trouble with Ben Johnson out of the blocks, but once he gets going, no one goes as fast as Carl Lewis. Look at this acceleration right there. Puts it in another gear. He has a gear above everybody else. And again, doesn't ease through this time. He wants to get to the final, 10.03.
And from the front, Carl Lewis, watch, aerodynamically, his hands are the finest in the business. Notice what he does with them, and he does that slicing through the air without tightening up his arms and his shoulders. I had a feeling, though, he was coasting just a bit at the end.
I think he had to wait a little longer than he did in his previous races, but he did coast a little bit at the end here. Still, it's almost like he doesn't want to run all out until the final.
Unofficial 10.03 into a slight headwind.
Oh, my. And what a final field of 8. McRae joins Carl Lewis of the United States. As you know, Mark Witherspoon, the 3rd American, eliminated in the first round yesterday. Pavoni gives the Italian someone to cheer about. Ben Johnson, apparently the world record holder in high gear with a tremendous start. Christie of Great Britain is a threat. Kovac, Stewart, the young Jamaican, and Brishkin, the Soviet. You heard Frank Shorter talk about how impressed he was with the start of Johnson, as everyone around the world that has watched him has been. How fast is Johnson out of the blocks? How quickly does he react? We had a clock on that. Here is the gun reaction time of the 2 men that are competing for the world record and the gold medal here in the World Championships. Johnson, 127 thousandths of a second. He reacts and is out of the blocks. Lewis almost twice as slow, if you can call 212 thousandths of a second slow. So Johnson, obviously, the advantage there, but as you saw, Lewis able in those last 50 meters to really get into overdrive. Well,
4 inches.
Dwight, this 29-year-old American has had an outstanding season during July and August in Europe. She lays out pretty cleanly at 6'4". Actually, not a very severe height for her to attempt. She's been up to 6'7" this season.
That's why I was surprised when she got a miss early at 6'2 3/4", but it looks like she made the adjustment, and she's okay.
Has the wind been a factor today?
No doubt about it. It's been swirling, it's in the face, it's at the tail, and then you have to really adjust where your takeoff point's going to be, how much speed you can use to the bar, and I think that's bothering a lot of the girls.
Well, here's a woman who might be troubled here. 6'4" is just about as high as she has cleared this year. She's been up to 6'5". This is Colleen Summer from the United States attempting 6'4". This is her 3rd and final attempt.
Very easy clearance. She made a little stutter step a few feet before the bar, and that's because of the wind. They can feel themselves coming in too fast, maybe a little bit too slow, and they make the adjustment.
Dwight, as we look at the picture, the wind's been coming from the right part of the stadium to the left. Would that have helped her in that jump since she jumps off her right foot?
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. But she's over that. She looks as though she's adjusted to it, and now it's just a matter of getting very, very comfortable. We'll be
Men's 100 meters. This is the first semifinal. Top 4 finishers will move through to the finals. World record is held by Evelyn Ashford with a 10:76. Evelyn injured and not in the field. Lane assignments. Savari is in lane 1 from West Germany. Schlusar of the Soviet Union. Pam Marshall of the United States is in 3. Silke Gladish of East Germany is in 4. Merlene Ottey of Jamaica is in 5. Isayinko of Canada is in 6, and she really looked good in the trials. Georgieva of Bulgaria is in 7. Alice Brown of the great star of the United States is in lane 8. That's Silke Gladish in 4 on the right. Merlene Ottey in 5, right in the middle of your picture. And Isayinko of Canada in lane 6.
And Charlie, all 3 of these women have gone under 11 seconds in the 100 meter this year, and that's a barrier that athletes love to break. So all these 3 women are running very well. Ottey from Jamaica in the middle lane has been consistently under 11 seconds this year. She trains in America. She went to Nebraska. She lives in the United States, but she is Jamaican.
And it is Silke Gladish with a great start. She just explodes out of the blocks in lane 4. And it is Gladish, and pulling along with her is Merlene Ottey and Isayinko. And it looks as if Pam Marshall in lane 3 may have finished in 4th and moved through to the finals.
Silke Gladish seems like she just jumps out of the block right in the middle of your screen. Another key factor is that she has good body lean right there. You don't want to be straight up. You want your momentum to go forward. She has that all the way. Merlene's coming up slightly, but not enough to catch her at the finish line.
We'll take another look at Silke Gladish.
On the right of your screen, she's out very quickly. She's a short girl with stocky legs. She can get into a running pattern much quicker than the taller Merlene Ottey in the middle there. Look at her arms. That's a key in sprinting. You've got to use your arms. She uses them very well. She's relaxed, even though she's sprinting all out. Her shoulders are down, and that helped her, I think, run such a good time here.
And her time, 10:82. A great time. It is, though, wind aided. Will not count. 2 meters, .12. So it is just above the allowable. We'll be back to the World Championships in Rome in a moment. 100 meters. In lane 1 is Paula Dunn of Great Britain. Angela Bailey of Canada is in lane 2. Heike Drechsler, one of the favorites, is in lane 3. She's from East Germany. Diane Williams of the United States is in 4. Anelia Nuneva of Bulgaria is in 5. Nellie Coleman of Holland is in 6. Natalia Pumozhnikova of the Soviet Union is in 7. And Marlies Gurr of East Germany is in lane 8. Evelyn Ashford holds the world record of 10:76.
Let's watch Drexler start on the far right. She's really been working on this, and she's gotten a lot faster out of the block. She has an unusual looking start.
Drexler in lane 3. Diane Williams is next to her from the United States in 4. Nuneva of Bulgaria is in 5. And Drexler gets a terrible start. She is left in the blocks. It is Diane Williams. And now coming outside is Nuneva. And now here comes Heike Drexler. And Drexler coming off with a terrible start. Comes through to win the semifinal and move through.
Charlie, like I was saying earlier, she's got a new start, but you can tell she's all coiled down with her arms very bent here. That's unusual. But as we see here, she hesitates coming out of the blocks, and you cannot do that. Look how far back she is. Nuneva in the middle of your screen with a red top and white shorts on. She led the world this year early in 10:86. She's out very quickly. But Diane Williams in between those two with all white on, she's making up some ground here. She had the bronze in Helsinki, but Heike Drexler, she passes everybody the last 30 meters and looked wonderful. Here we see her on the right of your screen. She looks like she hesitated. I don't know if she thought it was a false start or what, but she was out slow. Nuneva has a wonderful start. Here we go. Heike Drexler gets into full gear right here. Good arm swing. She keeps her arms low. she's 5'11" feet tall, so she's very tall, but she gets going in the middle there. Very mechanical, but she also stays relaxed throughout the whole 100 meters, which is hard to do with that terrible start.
It looks as if Dressler, along with Nuneva, Angela Bailey, and Diane Williams of the United States will move through to the final.
And there are the finalists for the women's 100-meter dash later this afternoon. The Americans, Pam Marshall and Diane Williams. Williams perhaps with the best chance at a medal, but the race really is between three. Drexler Gladish of 400 hurdles. He owned that event for some 10 years. Moses has his first time on center stage today as we start the heats of the 400-meter hurdles, and many of the crowd here in Rome here to see that man.
This is round one of the men's 400-meter hurdles, heat number one. We will have the top two finishers moving through to the finals with the four best other times. It'll be a total of 6 heats. Lane one is open. Edwin Moses is in 2. Gillingham is in 3. Zimmerman is in 4. Umiki is in 5. Kiyomolari is in 6. Kitor is in 7. And Yoshida is in 8. And, of course, all eyes will be on lane 2. Edwin Moses, the world record holder with a 47.02, August the 31st, 1983, defending champion and 2-time Olympic champion. He's in lane 2. Again, lane 1 is open.
Edwin should have no trouble in this heat, but he's still fun to watch because he's the best hurdler in history. He just goes over the barriers so well.
And already he begins to close the stagger on Martin Gillingham of Great Britain, who is in lane 3 just to his right.
Charlie, unlike some of the flat races where in the early rounds athletes back off, you can't really do that so much in the hurdles because if you do, it throws your steps off. So you have to run fairly the exact same distance on each stride. He's just fun to watch because technically he's the best person that's ever been in this event.
An unofficial 49.03 for Edwin Moses.
We understand we're having some technical difficulties with the heat and the transcontinental.
Right as you are, Louise Ritter up for her 3rd attempt at 6 feet 5 inches. When we last were speaking to you, she had a very easy make at 6 feet 4 inches.
Right, she didn't look good on her earlier attempts either at this height. 6 feet 5, Louise, I'm sure, major disappointment and a big surprise for track and field fans.
Right here, you can see that she is bearing down so hard. This is so important to her. This is an intermediate height for Louise Ritter, the way she's been jumping this season. She hits it on the way up. Extremely disappointed. She ends up in 8th place. Not a fate that we would have expected from Louise Ritter.
Colleen Summer, America's last hope. This is her 3rd and last attempt at 6 feet 5.
Larry, as you mentioned earlier, she's pretty much in over her head at 6 feet 5 this year. However, she had a better last attempt than did Louise. But those are our 2 American girls. They are out of the competition really before the competition has had a chance to heat up.
That's a good way to put it, Dwight. 6 feet 5 for the best in the world is really only the middle of a race before the sprint starts.
Exactly. As you can see here, she gets off the ground nicely, but with the wind and everything else, she hits the bar on her way down. This is Suzanne Bayer of East Germany, who has been jumping extremely well just in the last couple of weeks inside of East Germany. She really hasn't had a lot of opportunities to compete outside of the country.
She was not rated among the top 50 high jumpers in the world last year. Here she is among the top 6 in the sport now.
Nice clearance at 6'6 1/4. That was her 2nd attempt. She may be in the medal hunt with that particular attempt. That was a very fine jump.
Suzanne Bayer over 6 feet 6 1/4 inches.
Very good control here, as do all the East Germans. Very nice height right on top of the bar.
And
4 best other times. Edwin Moses holds the world record. He won the first heat and has moved through to the next round. In this heat, Van Beer is in lane 1. Max Robertson of Great Britain is in 2. Fuderkanet is in 3. Skaya is in 4. Edgar Itt of West Germany is in 5. Ochako is in 6. Lane 7 is open, and Danny Harris is in lane 8. And as you know by now, Danny Harris is the man who ended the streak of Edwin Moses at 107. He also the Olympic silver medalist.
Danny Harris would be in a bit of trouble if this were the final, but since it's an early round, he's in lane 8, and as long as he runs in a relaxed fashion, he shouldn't have much trouble qualifying. Where at the final, he wouldn't be able to see anyone. Here, where the opposition really isn't that good, if he stays relaxed, just runs his race, he'll be fine.
Not only is he out in lane 8, where you cannot see anybody to pull on, lane 7 to his left is open. So in reality, the next runner is 2 staggers back in lane 6. and that's Ochako of Kenya. One of the ways when you're watching this to see who is leading, of course, is just to pick out like the third or fourth flight of hurdles and see whose leg goes up first going after it. And as you can see now, it is Danny Harris way outside who has the lead. But Max Robertson in lane 2 of Great Britain is also running very well, and he has closed his stagger on lane 3.
Oh, and Danny Harris had to chop his steps on that hurdle, so they're going to catch him a little bit. Robertson in lane 3 is the next best runner in this field on time.
Robertson, he's in lane 2, Frank.
Oh, lane 2.
And outside it is Danny Harris, and now you can see what Danny has done without anybody to pull on. This is basically a blind race, and he still is going to win it by close to 15 meters, with Max Robertson of Great Britain coming in second in the heat in 48.73 unofficial. That is an excellent time. Very good for a heat time, particularly outside in lane 8 and all alone.
Danny Harris on the backstretch running along. He chopped, I think it was the 5th hurdle, and that's what happens in the intermediate hurdles. If you don't run the exact same distance, the exact same number of steps in between the hurdles, you have to chop your steps. There, he chopped a little bit there, and maybe it's the next hurdle coming up. There, you can see him sort of stagger there. He had to pull back a little bit, and he still ran 48.73, which is very, very fast for this race. Can't hold back. He was running a little bit scared here, I think. He couldn't see anyone. In the stretch, he may look over a little bit, but he doesn't. He just looks for the finish line and runs right straight through. Maybe having to chop his steps on that 5th hurdle told him that he better run hard to the finish. He didn't know where anyone was, and he finally eases up to 48.73.
And down on the bottom, Amadou Diaba of Senegal might have a chance for a medal. We understand in the high jump, the defending champion from the Soviet Union, Bikova, is causing some problems. Let's go to Dwight.
Dick, you're absolutely right. Tamara Bikova has been flawless all the way through. This competition is matching stride for stride with Zdefka Kostadinova. And Bikova over cleanly at 6'8 1/4, which is only 1 centimeter below her all-time personal record. She is coming completely out of the woodwork this year.
Dwight, she hasn't been up there in several years either.
She won the World Championships in '83, dominated in '83, but since then has not been a factor. She makes 6'8 1/4 cleanly. That puts a lot of pressure on Kostadinova, but she's been over this height many more times than any other woman in the world.
10 of the 13 highest jumps in history in the high jump belong to this woman. She attempts 6 feet 8 1/4 inches.
Not an impressive jump whatsoever. You would think that jumping behind Bikova and after her having such an impressive clearance, that Kostadinova would have to respond immediately, but that was a very poor attempt.
She has only 1 more jump at this height. That's her 2nd miss. You're allowed 3 attempts at any given height.
Driving the turn very well, but she takes too long from her right foot to her plant foot and hits the bar on the way up. She's got her hands full. She goes down to her 3rd attempt at 6'8 1/4. If she doesn't make it, she loses the gold medal. Unthinkable for Kostadinova.
Moments like this is not a team sport. Let's watch.
The response of a champion. Don't just make it by a ton. Daylight under Zdefka Kostadinova, but she knows she has her hands full. She's in 2nd place. She must make the next height just to win, and we're getting into very rarefied air.
The world record holder, 6 feet 9 3/4 inches. She has cleared in the past.
Kostadinova able to keep her emotions in check. She knows what she must do. The sun in her face, she just nails it at the plant. Very nice vertical, and makes that height with room to spare. That's what she needed.
Just 22 years of age, the Bulgarian. She started as a swimmer, said the water was too cold.
From Helsinki in 1983, she is the leader on misses. And a very fine effort. She is jumping so well in this competition. A great big meet performer.
5 times indoors and out, the world record holder. This is her main competition.
Kostadinova, 2nd attempt at 6 feet 9 inches. And she's over
Beautiful.
by
Clear.
a mile. Back into the lead. Now she is winning the gold. Bikova must respond by jumping this height as well as the next.
Bikova has just one jump left. This is Kostadinova.
Incredible confidence going from the depths of despair to the top of the mountain. Stefka Kostadinova with room to spare at 6 feet 9 inches.
Her run-up about 65 feet. This is the last attempt for Bikova.
Bikova has had the bar raised to 6'9 3/4 because she cannot win by jumping 6 feet 9. She's going for it with one final attempt.
Not close. Not close.
It was not meant to be this time. I have to admire the courage of Bikova, though, having a phenomenal meet and going to tie the world record to win.
She defended her title like a champion should. 65 feet is her run-up.
She looked very good in the run-up, but she just didn't have any more. Missed it on the way up. But what a tremendous performance by Tamara Bikova.
So, Kostadinova, sea level in the 400, the man to watch. Let's go to the main stadium.
First round of the men's 400 meters. The world record is 43.86, and that's one of the oldest on the books. Bruce Phillip. Butch Reynolds, United States. He, of course, one of the favorites. Scarrett, Felix Stevens, Scherzing, Al-Maki, Milzer, and Takano. Butch Reynolds. Not one of, he is the favorite.
He is the absolute favorite. He's running 2 3/10 of a second faster than anyone else in the world this year, which is a lot in the 400 meters.
And a new face. He really just, this year has been the year that he has come out.
And he's run very well. He's run a lot of races indoors and outdoors. The real question is, has he run too much in Europe?
This is the first round. The top 4 finishers at 8 next best times in the heats will move through. Butch Reynolds, the United States, is in lane 2 as you look in the head-on shot.
And Butch has a tendency to start out slowly. He's not even in the picture here. He'll come into the picture in a minute. He tends to start slowly and then come on very strongly in the last straightaway.
And there he comes in lane 2. Outside in lane 8, that's Takano of Japan.
And Butch Reynolds running comfortably on through to the next round.
So into the semifinals, and here are the key qualifiers. The Americans, of course, one of their strongest events. Reynolds, McKay, and Haley all in search of a possible sweep for the U.S. Innocent Egbunike from Azusa Pacific. The Nigerian is tough and has beaten Reynolds this year. Keter of Kenya, Schnobly of Germany, Redmond of Great Britain, and Cameron with a B-E-R-T, the Jamaican who was the winner in Helsinki 4 years ago. So
in the high jump, attempting a world record, 6 feet 10 1/4. She's already the world champion. Stefka Kostadinova's first attempt.
Ooh, a good attempt, though, Dwight. Not a bad attempt.
She's had a lot of emotional distress today. She almost lost this competition and then won it, and now she's going for the world record. They've been out here a long time today, Larry.
Watch her jump. She uses her arms to lift up, rotates her body, uses his right arm to lay out for levity, but doesn't quite get her legs up and over.
She makes the adjustment on the step. She could make this height. She has the strength.
She's got it! She's got it! That's a new world indoor record for Stefka Kostadinova of Bulgaria, the 27-year-old young lady. What a great performance.
Unbelievable. 6'10 1/4. She just nicks it on the way down. This is the ultimate. A half an hour ago, she was staring at her final attempt at 6'8 1/4. She had to make it to win. And now a new world record, 6 feet 10 1/4. She's got to love it.
Listen to the Italian crowd cheer and sing as though you're at an American college football game. Here she goes on the new world record.
Such a strong run-up, good arm swing. She works the turn so well, puts that plant down, just nicks it on the way down. Incredible performance.
50,000 people cheering here in Rome.
I'm not sure she's done jumping.
Now, wouldn't you say, we've seen this often over here in another competition, she's looking at her coach maybe for direction?
She may want just to take one more jump, just one jump at a higher height.
Look at her. Her reaction is like, you really want me to go higher?
Unbelievable. 6'10 1/4, a new world record for Stefka Kostadinova. Bikova gets the silver medal, and Susanna Bayer the bronze. Up to the studio, and Dick Enberg.
all right, Dwight.
760. Charmaine Crooks, Forgatch, Petra Mueller, Brisgina, Deneen Howard, United States, Figueiredo, Kensel, and Oliver of Jamaica. And this is the second race. There are 3 semifinal races. The 2 top qualifiers finishing first and second, plus the 2 best fastest times. It's Petra Mueller of East Germany in lane 3. And she has the fastest time in the world this year.
She's only 22 years old. She's one of those newcomers coming up from East Germany.
By the way, in the first heat, Pina Gina, Julian Richardson, and Lily Leatherwood King finishing third, and we will have to wait on her time to see if she will make it through to the final. Here it is, Petra Mueller, lane 3, Brizgina in 4, and Deneen Howard in 5. But they kind of set the pace for this complete group. They're running 1, 2, 3.
Look at Deneen Howard. She looks like she's almost leading right here in all blue. She, at 16 years old, made the Olympic team in 1980. She's going out hard. I like to see that the Americans are getting better, and Deneen Howard wants to make that final.
So it is Petra Mueller in lane 3. And Brizgina of the Soviet Union in 4, pulling away from Deneen Howard. Again, the first 2 are through to the finals, and we'll have to wait on the time of the third. And it is going to be Mueller, Brizgina, and Howard in that order.
We saw Howard run all the way through the finish line hard because she wants to make that final. And, of course, it's just the top 2, then the next 2 fastest times.
Now let's go back as they come off of the turn.
We see Mueller, a tall woman with a blue and white shorts on. Look how controlled she is around the turn. She looks like she's running well within herself. Now, Brizgina in second place right here with the red top on. One interesting note is that her husband made it to the finals today in the 100 meters. But Deneen Howard in third here. She's really using her arms, trying to make it into that final. But we can see Mueller looks very much under control. Her shoulders are low, and she looks like she's just on cruise control right here.
So it is Petra Mueller of East Germany who takes the second race of the semifinals and sets the scene as the favorite. And we'll have more action for you. But right now, let's go to Dick Enberg. Dick?
Years ago, that was one of the most emotional moments when Willie Banks of the U.S. and Hoffman the pole, Hoffman winning and Banks cheering the crowd, getting them, urging them to jump even better, which Hoffman did. Let's go to Dwight and Larry.
Michael Connolly, considered by many the favorite for the triple jump crown here in Rome, has jumped extremely well the entire year long. World indoor record holder. First jump in qualifying looks very good. Right here, there's the automatic qualifier. He is beyond it. 55, 11 3/4. He can pack up and go home. Here's the defending champion from Helsinki, Zdzislav Hoffman. Very low with his arms. But again, beyond the automatic qualifier, 54, 10 3/4. All these guys want to do in the morning, just qualify and get back to the hotel.
Here's the world record holder who has not done well in his early couple of attempts, Willie Banks. Out close to the distance from the pitcher's mound to home plate, he's reached almost 60 feet. He's having trouble today, though.
Willie has been very marginal this year. He was good at the TAC meet, but he is really struggling here, and that does not look far enough. 53, 8.5 in his third attempt. He will not qualify for the final on Monday.
This is the American indoor record holder, a man who held the world record there. This is Charlie Simpkins.
Simpkins has also been spotty this year. At the National, he was very good. He almost came off the runway on that one. 53, 9 3/4 does also not qualify for the final. Oleg Sakikin, another one of those Soviet triple jumpers who just seems to come at you every year. A big jump in qualifying. 56, 11 1/4. That was the leading qualifier for Monday's final.
And we'll see that tomorrow night on NBC 12:30 Eastern Time. There are the key qualifiers. Mike Conley now, the sole American with the hopes riding now on his shoulders. The Soviets are very strong in this event, figure to come up with a couple of medals. It's good that Hoffman made it. Some were wondering whether he would even arrive here in Rome. Has had a tough year.
Final run with Oshifo of Kenya, Chip Curry, Kirsten Immermann of East Germany, Olga Nazarova, Sandy Richards, Diane Dixon of the United States is in 6, Rita Payne and Uta Tim of West Germany rounding out the lane assignments. Lane 6, Diane Dixon. And she has a gold medal from Los Angeles as a member of the 4x400 relay team.
She's only 18 at the time, but she's really coming on this year and last year. She's really improving. She's been in a lot of international competition. She's looking for that sub-50.
First 2 finishers move forward to the finals, and then the 2 next best times out of the 3 heats. And Diane Dixon out at lane 6 is in a strong contention, as is Kirsten Immermann. of East Germany in lane 3. So right now it is Immelmann and Dixon running 1-2.
Diane's what I would call a feisty competitor, Charlie, because she's going out hard lately. She's not afraid of this field. It used to be that some of the 400-meter women from the United States were afraid of the East Germans. East German is way up here right now, but Diane is going for it. She's got good arm form right here, too.
Immelmann, by the way, has run a 50-30 this year, and we did have a scratch. Usifo, a late scratch of Nigeria in lane 1, and lane 1 is open. And here comes Kirsten Immelmann, and it is Diane Dixon. Immelmann and Dixon. Immelmann first, Dixon second. She definitely moves through to the finals. All right.
That's great for Diane, or her nickname's Dee Dee. She really went for that, and she was ready here, Charlie.
A look at Kirsten Immelmann. She could challenge for a medal in the final. Diane Dixon of the United States. And now we'll take them off of the turn.
We see Immelmann on the right of the screen. One thing about the East Germans is they have a low arm carriage. Diane, that you see clearly right here in all blue, look at her go to her arms. Right here, your legs feel dead. That's why you've got to go to your arms. You've got to pull those elbows back so that your knees come up. Diane's holding her form well here, and she wants to make that final, and she does.
Immelmann and Dixon through to the finals. Women's 400 meters. And now let's join Dick Enberg.
All right, Charlie Jones, and tomorrow we'll have the finals of the women's 400 and 2 Americans in the running, although they would have to be considered somewhat a long shot for a medal. Leatherwood King and Diane Dixon, because the 3 Soviettes are very tough, and Mueller and Immelmann are getting a lot of regard here, and many feel that Mueller is the woman to beat.
Your energy is very...
The 4th heat of the men's 800 meters. Suonen, Morel, Barbosa, Niang, Johnny Gray, Bernert, Inholm, and Braun are all in this heat. The 3 top finishers plus the 4 next best times will be coming through.
And Johnny Gray and Jose Luis Barbosa. Barbosa's in the yellow, Gray behind him, just pushing the athlete in front of him. Really, this could be a replay of the final. Out of those 2 will probably be medalists in the final. They're jogging now. They're settling in, and they're just going to let somebody lead through the first lap.
Suonen of Finland inside in reality has the early lead, but everybody seems to be just looking around, checking where everybody is.
And if Johnny Gray has a fault, it's that he tends to run wide. Look at him. He's on the left-hand side. Barbosa making a move, not getting boxed, in 2nd place.
And Martin Inholm of Sweden now takes the lead on the bell lap.
And Barbosa ran a very smart race. He's in 2nd place, well positioned. Johnny Gray is really in trouble here.
He is way back, running next to last. Now he starts to make a move down the back straight.
I hope he's running easily. He seems to be gaining on them now, but someone's making a break.
And that is Niang of Senegal.
And he is no slouch. He's a good runner. Barbosa's going after him, and Johnny Gray is getting left. Johnny Gray, something is wrong with him. He may not qualify unless he really starts to move here.
Babacar Niang of Senegal moving out in front as he leads coming down the final straight.
And this is a big upset. Johnny Gray will not qualify. This is one of the upsets of the games. He's starting to jog. Niang will win. Barbosa's 2nd, and Johnny Gray just jogging through right out of the gate and out of this competition.
He jogs across the line, turns right, and heads for home.
A big disappointment for Johnny Gray. He looked okay with 1 lap to go, and he's saying to himself, I don't know what's wrong. Some days you just don't have it, but usually not by that much. Johnny Gray in the back. We thought it was strategy for a while, but look at him. He's just not driving. His arms are not moving, and this is where everyone accelerates going into the last turn. Barbosa in 2nd, going after Niang, and you can see Johnny Gray running on the outside. He's saying, okay, now I'll punch it. I'll put the pedal to the floor and see what happens. He puts it down and shifts into reverse. Niang in front, running very well, and Barbosa running smoothly. Jogging through very soon will be Johnny Gray.
A disappointment in the World Championships, Johnny Gray of the United States.
Yeah, well, that's part of the reality of these great championships as well. David Mack then is the only American to move through these qualifying rounds, as Stanley Redwine, also the U.S., did not make it. There is the field. Morocco's Labi, Barbosa, a definite threat for a big medal from Brazil, 2 Kenyans.
Umiki is in 5. Kiyomilari is in 6. Kitor is in 7, and Yoshida is in 8. And of course, all eyes will be on lane 2. Edwin Moses, the world record holder with a 47.02, August the 31st, 1983, defending champion and 2-time Olympic champion. He's in lane 2. Again, lane 1 is open.
Edwin should have no trouble in this heat, but he's still fun to watch because he's the best hurdler in history. He just goes over the barriers so well.
And already he begins to close the stagger on Martin Gillingham of Great Britain, who is in lane 3 just to his right.
Charlie, unlike some of the flat races where in the early rounds athletes back off, you can't really do that so much in the hurdles because if you do, it throws your steps off. So you have to run fairly hard every race. So he'll win this by a whole bunch, not because he's hot dogging, but because he has to. He doesn't want to throw himself off.
And again, the top 2 finishers will move through to the finals. Out in lane 5 from Nigeria is Henry Amike. And he is now drifting back to 2nd place. And Edwin Moses will coast in, moving to the next round.
Evelyn Ashford, a perfect race, perfect conditions, lowers her own 100-meter world record to 10.76. And that's the mark they'll be aiming at here in Rome today. Great to see that world record again. It's a shame she's not on the track in person.
Stadium, the women's 100 meters final. The world record is 10.76, held by Evelyn Ashford of the United States. In lane 1 is Pam Marshall of the United States. Diane Williams of the United States is in lane 2. Angela Isayinko of Canada is in 3. Heike Drexler of East Germany is in 4. She would be the favorite. Merlene Ottey of Jamaica is in 5. Silke Gladish of East Germany is in 6. Anelia Nuneva of Bulgaria is in 7. And Angela Bailey of Canada is in lane 8. And Missy, Heike Drexler has looked exceptionally good.
There's a good shot of Heike. She has looked good. Last round, though, she had a bad start, but like you said, she still looked great because she has that top speed, what people talk about Carl Lewis having. She doesn't have a great start, but if she has a decent start, watch out because she's fast.
She will be challenged on her right. Merlene Ottey of Jamaica is in lane 5, and Silke Gladish is in lane 6. Silke in lane 6, also from East Germany. And everybody feels that Silke may have peaked a week or so ago at the East German National Championships.
She did set her best time there of 10.86, but then we saw 10.82. That was wind dated. But it might be the best starter against the best one that comes on at the end because Silke Gladish in lane 6 is very quick out of the blocks. Heike didn't have a good start, but she really comes on the last 20, 30 meters, so it's going to be interesting.
Let's swing over to lanes 1 and 2. Pam Marshall, United States, and Diane Williams, United States. Do they have a chance to medal?
I think so. Diane Williams, of course, had the bronze medal in Helsinki. She's in all white. Pam Marshall's in blue. Pam is a strong runner. She's under 50 seconds for the 400 meters, but she admits, Charlie, she has a ragged start. She's going to have a good start to medal, but Diane Williams has worked on her start a lot. She could medal.
In lane 3 from Canada is Angela Isayinko, who also, they've all looked good. Right. It becomes almost a broken record, but she looked good, particularly in the first round, I thought.
Look at Angela. She's very strong. She's worked on weights a lot, and an interesting note is that Ben Johnson's coach also coaches Angela, and she looked very well indoors, and she looked very good at the heats, and she was closing in on the other women the last 10 meters.
A warm day today again in Rome, but cooling off here in the early part of the evening. Almost ideal conditions for sprinting. Again in lane 1 is Pam Marshall of the United States. Diane Williams is in lane 2. Angela Isayinko of Canada is in 3. Heike Drexler, the favorite from East Germany, is in lane 4. Merlene Ottey of Jamaica is in lane 5. Silke Gladish of East Germany is in 6. Anelia Nuneva of Bulgaria is in 7. And Angela Bailey of Canada is in lane 8.
Heike Drexler set the championship record at 10.95 in the semifinals, even with a bad start.
Little bit of a weight. This can kind of play on your mind, and so experience comes to the fore here.
I think one thing Heike Drexler's thinking about is that start. She's changed her start this year. We'll have to watch it. It's a little different. It worked for her well yesterday. Today, she looked a little ragged.
It is not a comfortable looking start.
No, it's not, Charlie. She's so tall, 5'11". She's changed it where she has almost like a coil start. She bends her arms. We'll have to watch that, but it's worked well for her yesterday. Today, had a little bit of a problem with it.
This is the final women's 100 meters. And the only one missing, of course, is Evelyn Ashford, who has still out with that injury. We talked with Evelyn today, and she just she's fine and back and in training, and be ready for the Olympics in Seoul.
I think she made a smart move, Charlie, because she had a slight injury to her left hamstring, which has bothered her before, but it's not that bad. She thought, why risk it for 88?
Exactly. All right. Now the run for the goal. And it's a fair start. Drexler does not get a good start. Issa Yinko gets the start, and it is Merlene Ottey, and then outside it is Gladish. It is Silke Gladish of East Germany. Silke Gladish is going to win it, and Drexler may come in second at the lead.
Charlie, it looks like it could be a championship record. That's unofficial, but she had the start.
An unofficial 10:91.
Silke Gladish on the left of your screen gets a good start. Not quite as well as we saw this morning, but she's out and she stays in good running form. She's got that lean. That's important. She stays relaxed here all the way through the tape. And Heike Drexler looks like, I think she came in second.
Yes, and Ottey goes for third. And Gladish is a lean, mean running machine, because I think that her feelings had been hurt this week, because she's on the left in lane 6. Everybody was talking about Heike Drexler and Heike this and Heike that. I think that she just decided that she was going to prove it right here, that she had not peaked earlier.
Good power with her arms. She carries them low, gets them down by her hips. Good power, strong legs. Heike just had such a terrible start. Merlene Ottey's also a tall runner. She came in well the last 10 meters as well. That's happy Silke Gladish right there.
The women's 100-meter dash, and you think ahead to the 4x100 relay. Are they going to be tough? Gladish and Drexler, despite that horrendous start, Drexler almost catching her teammate. Ottey just nosed out, finishes third for the bronze, and Diane Williams. It's been the story of the United States.
The world record is 9:93. Set July 3rd, 1983, Calvin Smith. The lane assignments for the finals. Victor Brezgin of the Soviet Union is in lane 1. Pier Francesco Pavoni of Italy is in lane 2. Raymond Stewart of Jamaica is in 3. Attlee Mahorn of Hungary is in 4. 5, Ben Johnson of Canada. 6, Carl Lewis of the United States. 7, Lee McRae of the United States. And 8, Linford Christie of Great Britain.
Charlie, all the teasing and taunting are over. This is it. This is where we find out who the world's fastest human is, and it really will be decided here today. Ben Johnson has beaten Carl Lewis 4 out of the last 5 times they've met, but the last time they met, he beat him by 1/100th of a second. It really is that close. If ever there were a time where a world record could be set and you could find out who is the fastest human in the world at the same time, this is it.
Ben Johnson on the right, number 145 in the red from Canada, and he'll be in lane 5, and Carl Lewis, taking off his sweats on the left, will be in lane 6. Now, just outside of Carl Lewis would be Lee McRae of the United States, and then Linford Christie of Great Britain. So you have the feeling that the top half of the lane assignments, that's where the power is. Then on the other hand, back in lane 3 is Raymond Stewart of Jamaica.
Raymond Stewart of Jamaica is a real sleeper, but Carl Lewis has to be the favorite. I think the feeling here really is Ben Johnson is the best on paper. He's been running the best recently, and yet people can't quite believe that Carl Lewis can be beaten, even when Ben Johnson beats him. So before, athletes could always say, well, Ben Johnson is really on top of his form. Carl really isn't ready. Carl is ready. He said so. You can see it in the way he ran in the heats. He set another championship record in the semifinal. He's the holder of the meet record in this meet, and yet everyone's saying also, but Ben Johnson is the faster runner. I think it's just too close to call, and the picture's going to tell it all.
Carl Lewis with a 10:05 yesterday, a 10:03 today. And again, if you weren't with us earlier, the black ribbon on his vest in honor of his father who passed away this past spring. So all of the waiting is over. And we're ready now for the final men's 100 meters. the very essence of track and field. I love this event. You fire the gun, and the man who gets there first is the champion.
And the person out first will most likely be Ben Johnson. He has this new start where he simply kind of hops up on both feet. Carl Lewis has a more traditional start. Here is Carol Lewis, Carl's sister.
And it is a fair start, and it is Ben Johnson who is out. And Ben Johnson is 2 meters of Carl Lewis, and Ben Johnson's going to run away with it. Lewis cannot catch him. Ben Johnson of Canada does it. A 9.84. Unbelievable. You gotta love it. A world record. The wind is okay. Woo! He won it at the start.
Look how much faster he got out. Boom! This is the race coaches are going to show their athletes for the next 50 years. That is the fastest human in history. Carl Lewis, only number 2 now, because Ben Johnson is now better than Carl has ever been.
A 9.84 at sea level.
You can't see this enough. Look how quickly Ben Johnson comes up. He hops up on both feet. And here, where Carl Lewis usually accelerates, Ben Johnson holds him off. Carl closes a little, but he was never going to get him. Never in doubt. That is an athlete, and Carl Lewis went to congratulate Ben Johnson, the better athlete on this day, and Carl really showed class by doing this. There is a man who has done what he set out to do. We have a new standard in starts established by Ben Johnson. He pulls his hands up, he hops up on both feet. Boom, look, they both leave the ground, and he's up and running faster than anyone else. He also has the fastest reaction time of anyone in the field, and now he's nearly the fastest in the middle. Carl Lewis cannot catch him. Ben Johnson is the best in history, without a doubt.
Now we'll take another look in slow motion, and you can see it's even more vivid in slow motion as he just explodes. It's a leaping start out of the blocks for Ben Johnson, and the race in reality is over after 20 meters because he has the advantage with the start, and he is so quick, and he has peaked his whole career for today at this moment in time.
He's been a man with a mission. He's had an image to overcome, which is Carl Lewis's. He's very quiet. He's very sedate. He's got a great coach. He just decides what he's going to do. He sets out to do it. And now he's not only the strongest sprinter in the world, he's the fastest. And you can't see it enough. Watch him come up. Look how much quicker he moves. Boom, he's gone. You can see it right there. And that's the race. Now, Carl, I think at this point thought he might be able to catch him. But look at Ben Johnson's eyes. He is just looking at the finish line.
The overhead view, and just for the record, Johnson, Lewis, Raymond Stewart of Jamaica finishes 3rd, Linford Christie of Great Britain finishes 4th. But the story is Ben Johnson. Let's go down to Dwight Stone.
I'm down here with Carl Lewis. Carl, you told me that you think it's one of the worst races you ever run, but if I'm not mistaken, it's going to be very close to a world record. Talk us through your feelings from the time you came to set.
Well, Dwight, I came to set, I felt very good. But it's a gunshot. I just didn't really come up out of the blocks like I've been doing in the other qualifying rounds. And when you do that in a race like this, you just get left, and that was the difference. I'm really disappointed because my qualifying rounds were going very well, and I was ready to run very fast, and then we came to the final, and I didn't do it. But, hey, you can't take anything away from Ben. He ran a great race. He ran a great time, and he won today.
It seems as though the emotion shifted during the last 2 days from Ben Johnson to you. You became the favorite in the last 2 days. What could you have done differently?
Well, the only thing, like I said, is that I didn't really do what I had to do in the blocks. I mean, Ben has a great start, but I still believe I can come from behind. But I didn't do what I had to do in the blocks, and I got behind with the mistakes, and then I ran very hard to catch up, and then at the end, you just can't do it, so I stayed relaxed.
Was it tough to see him out there in front of you in the lane right next to you? He was almost running on the line next to you.
Well, it was very tough. I mean, especially since the fact that I knew I shouldn't have been that far behind. But like I said, he ran 9:84, whatever the official time is, and it's faster than anyone has ever run. So, you know, he ran a great race. That's the lowdown.
The good news may be that you got at least an American record out of it.
Hopefully, and the one thing we know is that we have the Olympics, and that's my domain.
Absolutely. Back up to the booth and Charlie Jones.
Thank you, Dwight. The world record again, Ben Johnson, 9:84. And we'll be back with more of the World Championships from Rome in just a moment.
Talk bullshit. Whenever I know I'm running, then I tell you if I'm winning or not.
You looked like you came out of the blocks very fast as usual, but you came out also very close to the line and then readjusted.
I came out so hard at the blocks. I end up in his lane, and I saw it, and then I back in the middle. I sort of maintain my position, and I speed right through.
Did you feel that you really peaked properly for this meet, or is there more in Ben Johnson's legs, a faster time than that?
Well, hopefully next year I'll probably increase my speed and my endurance right to the race. But now I'm pleased with my time, and also, you know, World Championship man, #1.
Congratulations, world champion, a new world record holder. Back up to Charlie Jones.
And our congratulations to Ben Johnson, the human being. He says it the way that it is. Also, as you know, he's been working on that speech impediment of his, and he has really improved. But what has improved? That 9:83. Carl Lewis second, tied the old world record of 9:93. Greatest race in history. Let's go to Dickenberg.
Indeed it was. And Ben Johnson, who has overcome an earlier stuttering problem as a youngster, boy, there wasn't a hiccup in that effort today. 9.83. What a day in Rome. Calvin Lewis runs an incredible 100, 9.93, and finishes a distant second. Stewart of Jamaica third. Carl Lewis, excuse me. Stewart of Jamaica's third, and Christie of Great Britain is fourth. Now, sports
to the finals. Ryoichi Yoshida of Japan is in lane 1. Amadou Diaba is in lane 2. Tomas Tomov is in 3. Chris Akabusi is in 4. Jose Alonso 5. Edwin Moses 6. Tomas Newberg is in 7. And Alexander Vasilyev is in lane 8. Edwin Moses of the United States in lane 6, one of the favorites. You can say one of now. In the past, he would have been the favorite. It's a bit windy, and they'll have a wind from behind as they go down the back straight. Moses outside in lane 6 has the lead. Frank is not all that smooth.
He's chopping a little bit. Oh, he just hit a hurdle. That threw him off a little bit. He's back on form in the next hurdle. That's where you find out if anything's going wrong. He didn't hit the next hurdle, so he's back on his steps.
So Edwin Moses is out in front in the semifinal. Outside in lane 8, that's Vasilyev, and he pulls up. Edwin Moses very comfortably in the lead. Again, this is the semifinals. Top 4 finishers will move through to the final. And Moses just strides with Diaba running second. Akabusi is running third, and Jose Alonso finishes fourth. So those 4 will move through to the finals of the men's 400-meter hurdle. Moses did not look that sharp.
Well, we have a very good example of what a great technician Edwin is. He hits a hurdle down on the backstretch, knocks it over. Look at him recover. He gets right back in his stride, and he has to run the same number of strides between the hurdles. Now, on the left, on the outside, Vasilyev looks like he was fine. He must have just pulled something. He's pulling up. He never hit the hurdle. Yeah, he's hopping like he hurt a hamstring or pulled a muscle. So he's out.
And we'll be back with more of the World Championship.
Danny Harris, with the luck of the draw on his side, has lane 3, which means he can watch Harold Schmidt of Germany in lane 6, and he can draw on him in the first half of the race to try to gain a little bit over the first 5 hurdles.
Shimo Chako is in lane 1, Max Robertson in 2, Danny Harris, the United States in 3, Winthrop Graham in 4, Henry Amiki is in 5, Harold Schmidt is in 6, David Patrick, the United States, is in 7, and Zveen Nylander is in lane 8. And there is Danny Harris.
To run the intermediate hurdles well, you really have to be born to do it. And Danny Harris seems to have the talent to run very smoothly between the hurdles. He's also very fast on the straightaway. Harold Schmid has been the best in Europe for over 10 years.
And those are the two men expected to lead this group in a challenge of Edwin Moses in the finals. Again, the top 4 finishers here will move through to the finals. Danny Harris is in 3. Schmid is in lane 6. David Patrick of the United States is in 7, and he has an outside shot to move through. Danny Harris gets a good start in lane 3. Schmid outside in lane 6 has already closed the stagger on David Patrick. And right now it is Harold Schmid and Danny Harris.
Danny Harris now taking a little bit of a lead. He likes to run fast in the first half of the race, and he's running well.
Danny Harris with about a meter and a half, maybe a 2-meter lead at this point.
Still going well, coming off the turn, but he likes to run fast. Schmid's a little better at the end of the race.
It is Harris, Graham outside of him, Amiki, and then Harold Schmid. And it is Danny Harris leading the way over the final hurdle. And Schmid, as they pull up at the finish line, I believe it was Schmid first, Harris second, Eulander third, Amiki finished 4th, David Patrick of the United States coming in 5th, will not move through.
There was a little bit of a hesitation by Danny Harris over the last hurdle, and you can't do that in this event. You lose momentum. Harold Schmid came by on momentum in the end.
48-23, a pretty good time.
But Danny Harris can't afford that kind of technical mistake on the last hurdle in the final.
76 and 84 in the Olympics. And there are his primary antagonists, Danny Harris, who ended his streak of 122 in a row, 107 in the finals, and Harold Schmid, that started the string. He's from West Germany. Amiki of Nigeria, Great Britain's Akabusi, Alonso, Spain, Senegal's Diaba, long shot, and Nylander of Sweden completes the field. So Nationals at Indianapolis as he broke a nearly 10-year-old record of João de Oliveira of Brazil's. This is a leap of 58 feet, 11.5 inches for Willie Banks. And the man with a law degree from UCLA, flamboyant, animated, you didn't need a scoreboard in Indianapolis to know he had the world record. Well, Willie Banks' news here in Rome, not good. He did not qualify for the triple jump finals. That was a major disappointment, not only for him, but for the United States. So that leaves it up to Mike Conley, the only USA hope in the finals of the triple jump. Conley, of course, the silver medalist in Los Angeles. For the finals now, let's go to Dwight Stones.
A championship triple jump competition without Willie Banks is like spaghetti without meatballs. It just is lacking something. But there is no lacking for quality in this triple jump competition. There'll be plenty of enthusiasm from the competitors as well as the crowd because they have everything that they could possibly want. Mike Conley of the United States, world indoor record holder and champion. Oleg Pritsenko of the Soviet Union, former world indoor record holder. And Krista Markov of Bulgaria, European record holder and champion, who many say could steal this competition. Look for Conley near the last couple of rounds to pull out a big one. Let's get right to the action. Krista Markov of Bulgaria, considered by many to be the favorite in this competition, but we all know how good Conley is as the competition progresses. Let's take a look at Markov's first round jump. He is moving down this runway. A fantastic jump. For the very first jump, he has really stretched this one out well into the pit. Krista Markov flat out flying on the runway. Very close to a foul. I think that's what they're looking at now, but look at this distance. You can see he is driving with the knees and the arms. He is full speed here. Stretches right to the board. Outstanding technique. Let's see how close. Plenty of room to spare there. 58 feet, 1 inch. That's a new championship record on the first round for Krista Markov. A very good beginning for him. Now Michael Conley of the United States. Usually a slow starter, but I think 58-1 might just get his head into this competition. Ooh, Michael chops severely near the board and has to drop down very quickly. Not a good effort at all for Michael Conley. You'll see right here, he chops his step, and that is no way to carry speed in this event. You must have your speed right on the button, hit the board well, and you can see here it's a good thing that he chopped his step because he would have fouled. But he gets 56 feet, 10 1/4 inches. That's good enough for third, and it is only the first round. We'll be back with more track and field championships from Rome after this.
Liliana Nastasi is in lane 1, Kim Hager in 2, Cindy Greiner is in 3, Jackie Joyner-Kersee in 4, Svetlana Boraga is in 5, Aka Bamer is in 6, and Chantal Bojo of France is in 7. Jackie Joyner-Kersee in lane 4 with a good start. And the thing to remember is not if you win an event, but how you do against the clock. And she is running very well. Jackie Joyner-Kersee out in front, and she runs very well. We will have her official time and correlate that to her points. Let's take another look at her in action.
Jackie used to have problems with her start and approaching the first hurdle. But as you can see right here, she's beautiful over the first hurdle. That's where she used to hit it sometimes. Now watch her form. Jackie used to be ragged in this event. Now she's got her rhythm down. She's using her arms well, but really I think she could even get better, and that's incredible. Jackie won 2 open meets this summer, 1 in Berlin and 1 in Zurich, so she can go against some of the best in the world in the open 100-meter hurdles.
Her time is now official. It is a 12:91, and that computes to 1,138 points. So right now, after the first event, she is 41 points ahead of her world record in Houston. Way to go, Jackie.
Usually just looks for a jump around 6 feet 2 inches. She's usually happy with that. The bar was at 6 feet 2 3/4, and she cleared it for a new personal record. Very happy about that. The heptathlon. She gets over it in a big way here, 52 feet 6 inches, and she loves it. Now to the final event of the day, the 200 meters in Charlie Jones.
Here are the lane assignments in Jackie Joyner-Kersee's heat, which was in the 200 meters of the heptathlon. And she has positioned herself perfectly all day long. And she gets an excellent start here, Missy.
Jackie in the middle. Look at, she just takes off. One reason this is one of Jackie's best events is that she is a natural sprinter. Everyone else is fighting himself, but Jackie can run all out and control her form. Good arm drive here and great knee lift. Jackie is running against herself.
She's running against herself and against the clock. And she ran a 22.95. That converted to 1,084 points, 111 points ahead of pace. Here's Dwight.
Jackie, you're 111 points ahead.
Olga Nazarova of the Soviet Union is in 1. Olga Brzeźkina of the Soviet Union is in 2. Petra Mueller of East Germany is in 3. Diane Dixon of the United States is in 4. Maria Pinagina of the Soviet Union is in 5. Kirsten Immermann of East Germany is in 6. Lily Leatherwood King of the United States is in 7. And Julian Richardson of Canada is in 8. So there are 3 Soviets, 2 East Germans, 2 Americans, and 1 Canadian.
And that's Petra Mueller. She's only 22 years old. She's really the top East German right now that Marita Koch, the world record holder, has retired. There's no clear favorites, but she does have the best time in the world this year, 49.64.
And she'll be challenged, the lady behind her, in lane 2, Olga Brzeźkina of the Soviet Union. But in one respect, the race is almost wide open. In another respect, these are the 2 favorites.
Those are the 2 favorites. Her husband yesterday, Olga Brzeźkina's husband, took 6th in the 100 meters final.
This is the final women's 400 meters. 1 lap, and they'll stay in their lanes.
Out in lane 7 is Lily Leatherwood King, and she really hangs back the first 200, but really comes on the last 200, but she can't get out very slowly here or everyone will be gone.
And it is a fair start with Brzeźkina and Mueller both starting fairly equal. Mueller closing a little on Diane Dixon on the stagger, and right now you'd say that Petra Mueller of East Germany has the early lead.
Right, she just passed Lily Leatherwood King. She's in all white. Diane Dixon is in lane 4 in all blue. She looks so strong right here, Petra Mueller. She's got the lead right here.
And outside in lane 6, Kirsten Immermann of East Germany is running well, and she's picked up 2 staggers as they swing off of the wide curve and then have the final straight in front of them, and we'll sort it out.
And this is where the race starts after 300 meters because you're getting very tight here. Diane Dixon looks like she's not having her best race, and the East Germans are going against the Soviets right here.
And from the Soviet Union, Olga Brezhdina in lane 2, pulling away from Petra Mueller. It is Brezhdina, Mueller, and then also Immelmann from East Germany. So the Soviets take the gold, and the East Germans take the silver and the bronze in the final of the women's 400 meters.
Of East Germany beats out her teammate Kirsten Immelmann.
3 finishers plus the 4 next best times through to the semifinal. Ismail Matsev is in lane 1. Gerson Souza is in 2. Butch Reynolds of the United States is in 3. Kurochkin of the Soviet Union is in 4. Innocent Igbenike is in 5. Devon Morris of Jamaica is in 6. Tito Sawi is in 7. And Anton Skerritt of Canada is in lane 8.
Butch Reynolds should run from pretty much behind the whole race. That's his strategy until coming off the turn onto the last straightaway. He'll get a good look at Igbenike for the first 3/4 of this race.
And it is Innocent Igbenike out in lane 5 who takes the early lead, and he has closed already 2 staggers. And everybody projects the final to be between Butch Reynolds and Innocent Igbenike. So here's a little preview and some strategy at work, some mind games going.
And Butch Reynolds will be behind, probably coming off the turn. Just a question of how much strength he has. He's way behind. Let's see how strong he is on the straightaway.
Devon Morris is running second to Innocent Igbenike. Again, the top 3 finishers. Butch Reynolds is going to have to get going, and he does, and he ends up at a photo, and he does move through along with Innocent Igbenike and Devon Morris of Jamaica.
He's running better than anyone else on the straightaway, but he let himself get a long way behind. If he does that in the final, he's in trouble. Because
in the 4th round of the men's triple jump is enjoying a very comfortable lead of 58 feet, 1 inch. He has really been the benefactor of some great tailwinds this afternoon. Big jump for Markov. His step almost landed in the pit. Christo Markov, already out at 58 feet, 1 inch from the 1st round, is really putting the hammer down in this competition. You can see he is full out on the runway, makes a slight adjustment just before the board, hits very close to fouling. Watch how close his step lands to the pit, stretches it out very close to the world record sign. 58 feet, 9.5 inches. Not only a new championship record, but a new European record, and only 2 inches behind Willie Banks's world outdoor record. Now, Michael Conley of the United States, 4th round. He's currently in 3rd, has a lot of distance to make up to catch up to Markov. And a good jump for Conley. 57 feet, 11 inches. That moves him into 2nd place and much closer to Markov. Let's go back up to the studio and Dick Enberg.
Javelin tricks. We go yesterday into Olympic Stadium. The man, Seppo Ratti of Finland, 25-year-old Helsinki railroad worker, his first attempt, and he sets an unofficial record for the shortest throw in World Championship history. Seppo Ratti, undaunted, this same Finn, this same 25-year-old Ratti, his last throw in the competition. Ratti approaches. And Ratti, with a mighty heave, 274 feet, 1 inch, earns him the gold medal and the World Championship.
They currently standing in 4th place. And an excellent jump. Improving his position from 4th to 3rd place with 57 feet, 2¼ inches. Now, how many times have we seen this situation? It's the final round and the final jumper, and it's Michael Connolly. He had to break the world indoor record to win the national championships this winter. He had to go to the 6th jump to win the world indoor championships, and now in 2nd place, he must jump over 58 feet, 9½ inches to secure the gold medal here in Rome. Can he go to the well one more time? And it's an excellent jump. But he can tell that it isn't quite enough. 57 feet, 11¾ inches, a slight improvement. He remains in 2nd place, but he must settle for the silver medal. Taking another look at it, Michael Connolly, looking for a favorable tailwind all afternoon, has to chop his step slightly here once again. Otherwise, his technique was excellent, but he just couldn't carry the amount of speed into the pit that he had to match Markov's 58.9½. Let's face it, we're talking about a jump very close to the world record. Here you can see his knees are coming up nicely, his arms are coming up nicely, but he had to chop slightly before the end. Very solid through the phases of the jump. An excellent extension here, but just not quite enough. There's always next year.
So Bulgaria celebrates another gold. Yesterday in the high jump, today in the triple jump. Christo Markov, 58.9½. That's just 2 inches shy of Willie Banks' world record, and Markov with a sensational series of jumps. Mike Conley of the United States, that's the 3rd medal in the competition for the U.S. He earns the silver just as he did in the 1984 Olympics. And 3rd goes to Oleg Sakirkin.
Best event, but her favorite event. She gets to start the 2nd day. She's a little bit fresher from last night. She knows she has a big lead on the world record, and she can really relax and punch one here. Besides the fact she's the co-holder of the world record in the long jump. And she gets a good one right off the bat. 23 feet, 5 1/4 inches for Jackie Joyner-Kersee. Her technique is so good. She's got great sprint speed on the runway, and she gets all of the board. You can see right next to the end of it. Tremendous extension into the pit.
And 4 finishers will move through to the finals. Sandra Farmer is in lane 1. Maria Usifo, a no-show in lane 2. So lane 2 is open. Margarita Kromova is in 3. Shawanda Williams, United States, in 4. Hollander of Finland is in 5. Sabina Bush, the favorite, is in 6. Tatamuya of Kenya is in 7, and Latanya Sheffield, United States, is in lane 8.
Sabina Bush, who you see right here, is one of the favorites in this event. She's in the blue top and the white shorts. She just got in this event 2 years ago, and the first try she went 53.8, which is phenomenal. She's the only woman in this field to break 50 seconds for the flat 400.
Sabina Bush in lane 6, and already she has closed the stagger on Tatamuya.
Pace is so important in this event, Charlie, because the pattern of their steps is so important. But Sabina Bush has been known to be ragged at times with her hurling, but right here she's looking very strong.
Meanwhile, Latanya Sheffield of the United States outside in lane 8, the worst possible lane you can have, running very well. Again, the top 4 finishers will move through to the finals on Thursday.
And right there before the 7th hurdle, Latanya Sheffield in all blue did stuttered. She couldn't get her steps right, and she was really slowing down. But look right in the middle lane at Sabina Bush. She's very much in control of her race right here.
Sheffield dropping way back, and it is Sabina Bush with the lead over the last hurdle, and it's going to be a battle to see who makes it through to the finals. Sandra Farmer finishes 2nd from Jamaica, so those 2 are through for sure. And when we look at the replay, we'll see if we can pick up 3 at Union. Christina Winberg is in lane 2. Cornelia Ulrich is in 3. P.T. Ushath is in 4. In 5 is Gudrun Abt. Judy Brown-King of the United States is in 6. Irmgard Trojer of Italy is in 7. And Deborah Flintoff-King is in lane 8.
Judy Brown-King almost didn't make it to the final of tag. What happened in the semifinal is that she stumbled on the 8th hurdle. She almost stopped dead in her steps, and then someone yelled from her in the crowd, "Get going, Judy," and she did. She made it to the final, won the final, and is our best hurdler.
Top 4 finishers here move through to the finals on Thursday. And it is Cornelia Ulrich in lane 3 of East Germany who takes the early lead.
She's in the blue top and white pants, and Charlie, she used to be a 100-meter hurdler, so she can hurdle well. The key for her is, can she hold up after 300 meters?
Deborah Flintoff-King way outside in lane 8 is also running well as we come back. You see Judy Brown-King, she's in 3rd or 4th right now as Cornelia Ulrich in lane 3 of East Germany has the lead.
The key to this race is your step pattern, and right now Ulrich she's keeping her pattern. Also Flintoff in the green shorts, she's very strong. She's a real strength runner right here.
Ulrich in 3, Flintoff-King outside in lane 8. Again, the top 4 finishers move through. Ambrosina, the Soviet Union, is in lane 1. Here comes Judy Brown-King at the lead, and I believe that she does make it to move through. An unofficial 54.73.
Attractive East German, the woman who might beat her teammate Cornelia Ulrich. It's King of Australia, Ambrosinia of Soviet Union, Jamaica's Farmer, and Kuisto of Finland completing the final 8.
Past, Edwin could run a poor race and still win. He's no longer invincible. Now he has to run a good to great race because of Danny Harris.
Edwin Moses has set the world record 4 times. The last time that he set it, 1983, 47:02. The finals, men's 400 hurdles. The lane assignments. Henry Omiki of Nigeria is in 1. Amadou Diaba of Senegal is in 2. Moses in a perfect position in lane 3. Harold Schmidt of West Germany is in 4 outside of Moses. Danny Harris, United States, is in 5 outside of Schmidt. Then in 6 is Sven Nylander of Sweden. In 7 is Chris Akabuzi of Great Britain, only a first-year hurdler. And is 8 in 8 with Jose Alonso of Spain.
Edwin has the best position in this race. He can watch Schmid and Harris the whole way and kind of relax because he'll always know where he is. Whereas Danny Harris on the right of your screen in lane 5, he's going to run a little bit scared, which means he'll probably go out fast and maybe faster than he wants to. Harold Schmid in the middle, very canny runner. He'll run very evenly and really make a big push coming off the last turn. This is a great confrontation. Harold Schmid has been the class of Europe for many, many years. The first end of the bookends. He was the man who beat Edwin Moses over 9 years ago. And then earlier this year, Danny Harris finally beat Edwin Moses again after 107 finals. So this is the first time, I think, that all 3 men have been together. We're going to see who has bragging rights.
Wind conditions, same as yesterday, tailwind down the back straight.
Earlier, Edwin was on the back straight. Charlie, you pointed that out, and he was counting steps down to that hurdle where he tripped up yesterday. And it was on the 3rd hurdle on the backstretch, and he wants to make sure his steps are down. The wind, fortunately, has shifted. It's not blowing down the back straight the way it was yesterday.
Danny Harris, as you saw, in lane 5. In 4 is Schmidt. Moses is in 3. Quick, possibility of a world record.
I think there is. If Edwin runs a smooth, controlled race, he wants to set the record. He trained to set the record. The only thing that'll prevent him is if he presses too hard and messes up his steps.
And it is a fair start, and Moses gets a good start.
He had a great start.
He comes out smoking, and he's the first man to the first hurdle. Danny Harris is in 2nd.
He is really going for it. Edwin is really out for the record.
Edwin closing down the stagger on Schmidt. As you can see, he has almost caught him in the stagger. Now he goes after Danny Harris.
Edwin wants the record. This is as fast as I've ever seen him go out. He is really moving.
He's 2 to 3 meters out in front of the field. And it is Harris 2nd and Schmidt.
The crowd senses it. They know he's out there. If he can hang on, he's got it. Now we see how strong Edwin is. Boy, is he strong. Here comes Danny Harris.
And 1 flight of hurdles to go. It is Schmidt coming up also. It is Edwin Moses. Harris, Schmidt. It is Moses, Harris, Schmidt at the lead.
What a race.
An unofficial 47-48. That will be if it holds a new championship record.
You can't get any closer than that. Edwin was the man who made that race. He wanted that record.
Oh, the 3 best in the world, and they all with a peak performance.
Edwin Moses ran the greatest race I've ever seen him run. Doesn't matter that he didn't get the world record. He went out and said, okay, boys, I'm going out there. You have to catch me. And he ran maybe a little too hard in the first half of the race, but he said, boy, this is it. We're all 3 here. You guys are going to have to catch me. They do on the final straightaway, but Edwin showed that he really is the class of 400-meter runners in the world. He has power, strength, and now as we see, the determination to hold on all the way to the end. It's going to be very, very, very close.
Oh, hold it, hold it, hold it right there. Oh, you got to check the photo. Harris is in there so close at 2nd. It's the torso on the photo timer. Schmidt is 3rd. I still see it Moses, Harris, and Schmidt in that order. But it gets closer as we take another look at it. Now, Edwin has started to celebrate. Maybe he knows something we don't know. We'll find out when we get back to the World Championships in Rome. 47-46, a championship record. 21-year-old Danny Harris finishes second with a personal best. Harold Schmidt at age 29 finishes third. First time in history that 3 men have finished under 48 seconds. Let's go down to Dwight Stone.
When if you watch him, he's on the right-hand side. He comes and drifts over in his lane. He came over the last hurdle. He was on the left-hand side of the lane. Watch him drift, and he bumps a little bit. That may have been what went to the jury because the photo itself is very, very explicit.
But they did confirm the official result.
Ohio State junior Butch Reynolds in blue, struggling in lane 2. He must finish in the top 4 to qualify. Reynolds with the 3 fastest times this year in the 400 barely manages 4th by 0.03 of a second. He is in the final 8. But barely, as was the case with Roddy Haley, who finished 4th in his semi. Innocent Egbunike, remember that name, from Nigeria. He ran his 400 in a world championship record time, the man to beat. From East Germany, Tomas Schönleber, he should medal. The rest of the cast, Hernandez of Cuba, Redmond, who won that heat, the Great Britain star, Tiaka of Ivory Coast, and Couture of Kenya.
Kean of Great Britain is in 5. Jose Luis Barbosa is in 6. Billy Concello is in 7. And Peter Elliott is in lane 8. The favorites are Tom McKeon in 5, Jose Luis Barbosa in 6, and Billy Concello in 7 in their lanes around the turn in the break for the pole.
And Jose Luis Barbosa seems to be the man going out fast. Let's see when he cuts to the pole if he takes it. Now he's easing. No, he's going to take the lead. Barbosa will be in the lead, and Billy Concello on the left ran very easily around the first turn.
And Peter Elliott, who we expected to take the lead, is back in 4th place.
That's because Barbosa wants the lead. He's going out very fast.
Marai of Kenya is running second as Concello has now moved up to 4th. Labi of Morocco is 3rd. Peter Elliott working his way on the inside.
And Billy Concello, who is the favorite, just seems to drift up as he wants to.
Jose Luis Barbosa, as we come to the bell. Wauzi Labi of Morocco is running second. Concello is running 3rd.
And Barbosa is really pushing the pace. I think he wants to get away from Concello. But Concello now moving up into second looks very easy.
Meanwhile, Tom McKeon of Great Britain is back in about 5th. Concello now makes his move. He takes the lead from Barbosa on the back straight. Here comes Elliott inside, and he moves through to 3rd.
And Concello had waited in the heats way until the straightaway to make his move. He made it early. Let's see if it's too early. Here comes Barbosa back. Elliott running very well in 3rd. Much better than people expected.
Concello, Barbosa, Elliott, and then Labi, but it's down to a 3-man race.
And here it is, the strength, and look at Billy Concello. Boy, is he strong.
And Elliott moves in on the battle for second. He's got second place. It is Concello, Elliott, and Barbosa. Gold, silver, and bronze at unofficial 1:43.07. That is fastest in the world this year.
Fantastic stretch run. Usually you wait until the final straightaway to make the move, but Billy Concello took it with 250 meters to go and just powers home. And Peter Elliott, who trained specifically for this race, hadn't run very much all this year, shows that it was worthwhile coming through in second place. But Billy Concello is the class of the world this year.
From Nairobi, Great Britain's Peter Elliott, a solid run, gets second, and Barbosa of Brazil earns the bronze.
4 finishers through to the final. Here are the lane assignments. First, the world record, Ronaldo Skeets Nehemiah with a 12:93, and that's some 6 years old. All right, Krzysztof Platek of Poland is in lane 1. Brugera is in 2. John Ridgen is in 3. Carlos Sala in 4. Alexander Markin is in 5. Greg Foster of the United States is in 6. Aleš Hofer of Czechoslovakia is in 7. And Florian Schwarthoff is in lane 8. Greg Foster, the favorite.
And he should have no trouble in this heat, Charlie, if he doesn't hit any hurdles. Greg has been plagued throughout his career, really with misfortune. He's a wonderful athlete. He's a good technician, and yet he gets into big races, big finals, and he starts to hit hurdles.
Again, the top 4 finishers move through to the final. Foster with just a fair start. Sala got the best start, and here comes Foster. Foster and Sala. Brugera over in 2. And it is Foster and Brugera. And now it is Ridgen. It is Foster, Ridgen. Then we're going to have to check to see who finishes 3 and 4. 13:40 is the time. And it's not really that fast.
Foster not out particularly fast, but he's got good technique, and so he knows he'll qualify if he just runs through it well. And he just uses his technique, runs between the hurdles, which is the secret in this race, doesn't press too hard at the end over the last hurdle, and Ridgen just comes through and nips him, and he doesn't care.
And it looks as if Brugera, and was that Markin that also made it through? We'll have to see again.
Greg Foster coming over, great technique. I think what is the trouble for Greg is that he may be too strong for his own body. He's just such a big man. Look at his legs. He's got these huge thighs, and it's hard for him to control his strength and speed between the hurdles. But when he can, he's the fastest man in the world over the hurdles.
And it's close for fourth. It may be Carlos Sala.
And we'll have the
second semifinal, men's 110-meter hurdles. Here are the lanes. Jack Pierce of the United States is in lane 1, and he might make it through. We'll just have to wait and see. Bakosh, Hudetz, Mark McCoy, Stefan Kerestan, Colin Jackson, Nigel Walker, Igor Kazanov. In lane 4 is Mark McCoy. In lane 5 is Stefan Kerestan. Those would be the two favorites in this heat, and the top 4 finishers will move through to the final.
Either of these two men can give Greg Foster a real run in the final, so we want to watch them very closely to see who looks to be in better form.
McCoy with a good start. A hurdle goes down. That was Hudetz on his left. Pierce is running well over in lane 1. It is McCoy, and it is Pierce. And Pierce and McCoy, now they're going to have pressure from the outside. I believe it was McCoy, Pierce, and could have been Colin Jackson of Great Britain and Kazanov of the Soviet Union. That, of course, is very unofficial.
The Canadians have been working on their starts. Mark McCoy in all red, just like Ben Johnson, out first, and he's got the best technique of anyone in this field, too, running very well. Jack Pierce in lane 1 also running well. Kind of a surprise. McCoy's not. And from this race, we see that if Jack Pierce can run this well or a little better in the final, he may medal.
Stefan Kerestan hit 4 hurdles. He does not qualify.
So the final teammate from Morgan State, Jack Pierce, another man to watch, Canadian Mark McCoy. Well, the 200 flamboyant former UCLA star shocked the style-minded fans here in Rome with this sleek speed skater look. It didn't hurt her. Her opponents watched her finish first in her early round heat of the...
Just under an hour and a half. Lane assignments, lane 1, Feder Riv, Pavoni in lane 2, Spearman in 3, Mahorn's in 4, John Regis in 5, Calvin Smith in 6, Nodge in 7, and Berger is in 8. Calvin Smith in lane 6, not that good a start, but he runs the turn so well. But right now, in lane 5, it is John Regis of Great Britain. It is Regis and Calvin Smith as they come around to the final straight. In lane 2, it's Pavoni of Italy. But it is Regis and Calvin Smith. John Regis, Calvin Smith finish 1-2. Mahorn of Canada, I believe, got through along with Pier Francesco Pavoni of Italy.
Calvin Smith in lane 6 on his left. John Regis from Great Britain coming through, running the turn better. But look how close Calvin is to the turn. He runs it better. Regis got there first. Now down the home straight. Is Calvin relaxing, or is he letting Regis go, or is he trying to win? I think Calvin was trying to win, or at least pull up even. And it looks like Calvin had him by a little bit.
Wright is in 2, Kobats in 3, Da Silva in 4, Canerve is in 5, Hurd is in 6, Tilley in 7, and Kip Kimboy in 8. Floyd Hurd of the United States with a pretty good start. He is in lane 6. Inside of him is Canerve, and inside of Canerve is Da Silva. And coming around the turn, it is Floyd Hurd. Hurd with Canerve inside of him, and then Da Silva, and moving in 3 is Kobats. But it is Floyd Hurd coming across with Krylov, I believe, of the Soviet Union inside in lane 1.
Turn, it's hard to tell now, but he was first when they came off the turn. He just relaxes down the straightaway, and that's the key in this race, to get up to full speed and then relax down the straightaway. This is the faster of the 2 heats. Floyd Hurd relaxing through to the finish. He looks very good heading into the final.
His Helsinki victory. Good story here in Floyd Hurd of the United States. He was an alternate. He's in the competition only because Carl Lewis elected not to run the 200, and Hurd ran a big semi. Regis of Great Britain, De Silva of Brazil also figured as possible medal candidates, and there's the rest of the final 8. Now,
100 meters, top 4 finishers through to the finals. In lane 1 of the first semifinal, Pauline Davis. In lane 2, Vineta Ikaunitsa. In lane 3 is Adajda Georgieva. In lane 4 of Canada, Angela Bailey. Pam Marshall of the United States is in 5. Silke Gladish, the favorite, East Germany, is in 6. Merlene Adi of Jamaica is in 7. Falalat Ogunkoya of Nigeria is in lane 8. Silke Gladish of East Germany in lane 6, out with a good start as expected. Merlene Adi also with an excellent start, already closing the stagger as they come around the turn. It is Gladish. Adi dropping back a little. Georgieva of Bulgaria running well in lane 3, and here comes Adi. And also is that Pam Marshall? Yes. And she will move through to the finals. Top 4 finishers through to the finals.
Merlene Adi.
Semifinals, women's 200, lane 1 is Ulrika Savari, lane 2 from Poland. Eva Kasperczyk from the Soviet Union in 3. Maya Azarashvili. Wynn Torrance of the United States is in 4. Florence Griffith of the United States is in 5. Mary Onyali of Nigeria is in 6. Heike Morgenstern of East Germany is in 7. And Marie Cazier of France is in lane 8. All eyes drawn to lane 5. That's Florence Griffith in that full speed suit. Looks like Spider-Woman. She's in lane 5. Outside of her is Mary Onyali in lane 6. And Florence is running well. It is Florence Griffith in lane 5. In lane 2 is Kasperczyk. Onyali, Griffith, Kasperczyk, and Gwen Torrance. All 4 will move through to the final.
Good thing with that bodysuit that Florence is running well, too, because everybody is watching her. Florence came out she came out very late in the season, around March, but look at her here with a very good start. Florence has one of the best curves of anybody. She has the lead here. She's making everybody run at her. Good drive all the way through. Kasperczyk on the inside lane, too, running strongly. And I think looks like Gwen Torrance also is coming through to make it to the final in all white.
so the USA well represented. All 3 ladies make it through to the finals of the 200 meters. Florence Griffith, spacesuit and all, looks to be an outstanding chance for a medal, maybe a gold. Pam Marshall, Gwen Torrance of the USA. Gladish, the 100-meter champion here, and Adi of Jamaica will be tough.
Looking at the whole situation with, Reynolds running 44 once and all this stuff. Like, when I first saw his 44.09, I think I went and overtrained for that first day. I went and just did what I usually do in 1 week in 1 day. But that didn't really help that much because I knew, well, he's blessed. God has blessed him with, that time, and I can't change it for him. So instead, I just started training myself, started putting more effort into what I can do within myself instead of what I can do, against other people. I just started thinking about, well, if I could train this hard, I could do a lot better, than people expect me to do.
I think I'm sparking the rest of the quarter miles to run their best. And so far, like myself, I hate to be beaten. And I guess they feeling the same way and getting a little deeper down and bring out the best times in them. But hopefully when we line up again, head-to-head, I'll come out on top again.
Die Explosion in der Weise, diese Entwicklung.
The other 400-meter runners will make the times amazingly high in Rome. With the times I've run this year, I feel I'll definitely be in the finals, but I can't predict if I'll win a medal.
The Olympics 1968 in the thin air of Mexico City, American Lee Evans ran a 400-meter race which still defines the event. Officially 43.86. Almost 20 years later, that record still stands. And years later, Evans would coach the national Nigerian team. One of his pupils, Innocent Egbunike. Egbunike is ready. The 400 finals coming up.
Lee Evans with the world record. Larry James, Butch Reynolds, Innocent Egbunike, both in the race here, and Alberto Juan Terena of Cuba. Here are the assignments. In lane 1 is Roddy Haley of the United States. Roberto Hernandez of Cuba is in 2. Tomas Schönleber, East Germany, is in 3. Gabriel Tiaco of the Ivory Coast is in 4. Innocent Egbunike of Nigeria is in 5. Derek Redmond of Great Britain is in 6. Butch Reynolds of the United States is in 7. And David Kitur of Kenya is in lane 8.
Innocent Egbunike, the man we picked to win this race. Butch Reynolds who was in great form earlier this year, but he's had a long, long season. If he were in better shape, more rested, it would be a classic confrontation.
Men's 400-meter finals. And Butch Reynolds with a good start outside. He is in lane 7.
Egbunike going out very, very fast.
Egbunike closing the stagger on Derek Redmond. Egbunike now in the lead off of the stagger as Reynolds, 2 runners outside of him, begins to drop back. Reynolds on the left is really laboring at this point. And it is Innocent Egbunike.
And Tomas Schönleber coming up on the inside. Could have an upset here.
Schönleber takes the lead. Tomas Schönleber of East Germany. It is Schönleber, Egbunike, and then Butch Reynolds comes in to save the bronze. What an upset. Tomas Schönleber of East Germany, surprising everyone.
Including himself. He does not believe he did this. Tomas Schönleber on the inside in the blue from East Germany, white shorts, showing that strength and the ability to run heats as well as the final does show. He's the best world junior runner for a long, long time. Had a little off time last year. Coming back, showing right here that he has the strength to make it through the heats, the semifinals, and the finals.
An unofficial 44-34, if it stands, a European record for this man with a smile, Tomas Schönleber of East Germany.
Of East Germany, the 22-year-old breaks his own European record, 44.33 for Schönleber. Egbunike earns the silver, and Butch Reynolds of the U.S. takes the bronze. Schönleber in German.
A long season. I anticipated a long season, but not quite this long and competitive. This is a great season, and every time I ran, I had to run to my best ability, which is like 44.1. And going out every meet, it's hard to do that. But today, like I said, I came up short. I couldn't push that 44.1 out like I needed.
You've really changed the complexion of the way the 400 meters has been run this year. Do you think you've gained the experience that you're going to need in the Olympic year?
Quite sure. I gained the European circuit, which is different, and the type of people you have to run against. And most of all, I gained knowledge. I know what it takes really to go the distance and be ready when you get there.
Good luck to you next year.
Thanks a lot, Dwight. Thanks.
So Decathlon, the 100-meter has Daley Thompson in lane 3-1, but not by a large margin. This is a man who has not lost a decathlon in 9 years through 12 international events. His winning time was 10:67, but his margin gives him only 4.
He was having a real problem in the long jump. This was his 3rd attempt. He started out in track and field as a long jumper. And a very disappointing performance for Thompson. 24 feet, 8 1/4 inches, way below par for him. Disappointing performance in the 100 meters. And Hinkson shot put. Daley Thompson, 3rd throw. 49 feet, 6 1/4 inches. He's still way behind his record pace.
4-year-old Sabine Busch, former world record holder, very good at 400 meters, still working on her hurdling technique.
Championship women's 400-meter hurdles. This is the final. The world record is 52.94. Maria Stefanova holds the record. Here are the lane assignments. Ambrosina of the Soviet Union is in 1. Shawanda Williams, United States, is in 2. Bush of East Germany, the favorite, is in 3. Cornelia Ulrich, you might say the co-favorite, is in 4, also from East Germany. Alondra of Finland is in 5. Sandra Farmer of Jamaica is in 6. Judy Brown King of the United States is in 7. And Deborah Flintoff King of Australia is in lane 8.
Sabine Busch, she's really the favorite of this event. She's the only woman in this event that's gone under 50 seconds for a flat 400 meters. She's new to the event, though. She took it up in 85 because a teammate, Marita Koch, has the world record still in the 400 meters flat. So she wanted to go to the World Cup, so she went in the 400-meter hurdles and it's been sensational. There's Judy Brown King, our best in the United States. She's been a little off the last couple of days. We heard she was sick. We hope the rest day yesterday took care of the problems.
Judy Brown King in lane 7. Sabine Busch in lane 3. Bush with a good start. And she and Ulrich go out stride for stride in lanes 3 and 4.
Also, way out in front, too, is Debbie Flintoff-King from Australia. She's in lane 8, and she's strong.
Sabina Bush in 3, Ulrich in 4. Flintoff-King outside in lane 5.
Both East Germans were really ready for this event. You can see them in the blue tops and the white shorts. It looks like their step pattern is going well. Also, Sandra Farmer on the outside in the yellow top and green shorts is really running well right here, and she seems that her steps are fine.
And Judy Brown King of the United States dropping way back. She is out of this race, and is Sabina Bush. Sabina Bush outside. It is Sandra Farmer of Jamaica. It is Bush and Sandra Farmer. It is Sabina Bush. And then outside in 8, Deborah Flintoff-King for 2nd. And Cornelia Ulrich of East Germany for 3rd.
Sabina Bush is so strong and she's so fast that even if she makes even a few mistakes, she still runs well. Here we see Sabina Bush. She has the lead right here. She's so strong. It's so hard to get your legs up at this point. You're so tight, but yet she's keeping her form. She keeps her arms down very low. All of a sudden now on the outside, you see Flintoff. Very good form right here. Doesn't have to chop her stride at all. But also the East German in the 2nd lane. Ulrich is coming up. Sandra Farmer, they're all fighting for the bronze because Sabina Bush has the gold. Flintoff takes the silver. Ooh, it's going to be close. It looks like the other East German also got the bronze.
Cornelia Ulrich finishing 3rd. That, of course, is all unofficial. The time, unofficially, 53:63, if that holds a championship record.
East German women, what a juggernaut. It's the most powerful in the world by far. 2 more medals for the East German. Sabina Bush, blue eyes to match the uniform, wins the women's 400-meter hurdles. It's Debbie Flintoff-King of Australia, surprising silver, and Cornelia Ulrich of East Germany is 3rd. Shawanda Williams and Judy Brown King, the 2 U.S. finalists, finished 7th and 8th. Nehemiah in red, running 12.93 in Zurich in 1981, and it was Greg Foster in white that chased him home. Nehemiah later would wear the red of the San Francisco 49ers and tried to hurdle defensive backs. The 110 highs are next.
In lane 3, Greg Foster. Lane 4, Mark McCoy. World Indoor Championship, Indianapolis. They were side by side, but reversed, and here's what happened.
Coming over the hurdle, Greg Foster just tripped up, lost his balance, ran into Mark McCoy, and they both just come crashing down. McCoy's trying to stay away, but Foster is so big that once he gets out of going one direction, he just can't hold himself together, and they both go down.
The world record is held by Ronaldo Skeets Nehemiah of 12.93, and here are the lane assignments in the final today. Igor Kazanov of the Soviet Union is in lane 1. Colin Jackson of Great Britain is in 2. Greg Foster in 3. Mark McCoy in 4. Jack Pierce of the United States is in 5. John Ridgen of Great Britain is in 6. Carlos Sala of Spain is in 7. And Arto Brugger of Finland is in lane 8. 10 flights of hurdles.
Greg Foster in the blue runs a technically correct race, he will win. He's the fastest man in the field. But with Greg, over the last few years, it's win or crash and burn.
Mark McCoy, probably the best start in the field. He's in lane 4. And Foster is left in the blocks, gets a terrible start. McCoy has the lead. Colin Jackson running well. He drives back. Here comes Foster. Foster has to come from behind. It is Foster. Foster. And he takes it. John Ridgen of Great Britain finishes 2nd, and Colin Jackson finishes 3rd. And look at Foster celebrate.
That's one happy man. He knows he ran that technically correct race. Not his greatest race, because he had a terrible start, but he knows from the 3rd hurdle on, it was all Greg Foster. That is one happy man.
Unofficial 13:21, and the wind is okay.
Now he realizes he's tired. He was so elated, he did not know he was tired.
Oh, that's an excellent time for Greg Foster.
Especially given his start. He knows how lucky he was to really be only that far behind. Maybe he was thinking technique, but look at Mark McCoy in the red. Boy, Greg Foster, he's a big man. It's hard for him to get going anyway, even when he reacts with everyone else. So he's at a disadvantage. But look, technically, he's so good. He's almost hurdling at the same time, even though he looks to be behind. And this is where he starts to power and catch up. One more hurdle, he's going to start to draw even. Now we have it a little later on, and he is just literally running away with the race. He's just so much quicker in between the hurdles, so controlled that if he can keep himself going in one direction and not sideways, he's the best in the world.
In many respects, the best race that he has ever run. He had the late start. And now watch his technique over the hurdles. Watch how close he comes. And he's still brushing. He butts 1 and 2. He hits the first 3. Clears 4.
Look how his head stays the same, and McCoy's head goes down as they go over the hurdles. McCoy moves his head. Foster's head stays right even. Great technique. McCoy was, when you say the word ragged, that's what McCoy was in this race.
And back to the start.
Watch McCoy in red. He is off. Foster is left, but it doesn't matter. And this is the kind of race that if you're a good technician, the way Greg Foster is, once he gets rolling, and it took him 3 hurdles to get there, top end, he was the fastest man. Watch McCoy's head go down as he hurdles. Boom, it goes down. Greg Foster's head stays even. Better technique. Once he gets rolling, Greg Foster is very, very hard to catch.
Watch out there.
And here's the champion, Greg Foster of the United States.
From Helsinki to Rome for veteran Greg Foster. He redeems himself after falls in the World Indoors and the Pan Ams and reaffirms his position as the world's #1. A surprise for the silver and bronze. 2 Brits, Ridgen and Jackson, take 2nd and 3rd. And now with the 29-year-old winner, here's Dwight.
This is a happy man. You went all the way through the race. Terrible start, but you're the world champion.
It feels great, Dwight. It's been a long week. I've been waiting for these 2 days to come, and it took so long. I got out real good the first race. Second race, I had a lot of trouble. I think I overwarmed up. The heat was kind of deceptive. And I just basically came out today and just tried to hold on. I got out slow, and I guess I just concentrated like I did indoors this season. I'm happy with that. And I came out on top.
I'm so happy for you because I know when you're left in the blocks, that's when you really press. And so much has been made about your falling this year. Did you think about that when you got left in the blocks?
For the last 3 weeks, that's all I thought about. Getting out here and not making any mistakes. I think I felt in order for me yesterday, in order for me to lose, I would have to come out here and make a mistake. And I made one at the beginning, but I caught myself and came back at the 2nd or 3rd hurdle. And I'm happy for that. Like I said, it's a longer race outdoors. It's a little bit easier to catch up, but I didn't want to take any chances, so I tried not to press and just gradually get back up there.
My colleague Frank Schroeder says you cleared the last 2 hurdles by a ton. Were you just determined to make sure you got over those last 2 and get to the finish line in good shape?
Oh yes, I was. I knew I was behind from the beginning. I didn't know where I was in the race at the last 2-3 hurdles, and I thought I'd just go ahead and reconstruct at 8 and just go all out and hopefully come out on top. And thank God I did.
The monkey's off your back. Congratulations.
It's definitely all. Thanks a lot, Dwight.
An understandable collection of...
Women's 200 meters, the lane assignments. Pam Marshall of the United States is in lane 1. Ava Kasperczyk of Poland is in 2. Silke Gladish of East Germany in 3. Merlene Ottey of Jamaica is in 4. Florence Griffith of the United States is in 5. Mary Onyali of Nigeria is in 6. Nadezhda Georgieva of Bulgaria is in 7. And Gwynn Torrance of America is in lane 8. The world record is 21:71, co-held by Koch and Drechsler. Silke Gladish in lane 3. Florence Griffith is in lane 5, running without the bodysuit. Merlene Ottey is in 4. 3, 4, and 5 should be the race. It is Silke Gladish in 3, and she may just run away from it. Coming into the final straight, it is Gladish. Gladish is out in front by 5 or 6 meters. Here comes Merlene Ottey. Here comes Florence Griffith. It's going to be Gladish, Griffith, Ottey. 1, 2, 3. Pam Marshall of the United States finishes 4.
Look at that time.
21:73 unofficial. That is close to the world record.
Silke Gladish, she's had the confidence going into this race. She won the 100 meters, and then last week she had her best time in the 200 meters, 21:79. She was ready. Silke Gladish has such a great start. She just has the field all behind her. Everyone's trying to chase her. But look at her right here. Even though she's got the best speed out of the block, she controls the race because she keeps her arm drive low. Quick knee coming up. Behind her, Florence Griffith in all white is just now catching Ottey. Long arms right there, really driving down through her hips, which is important to keep your control. Gladish wins by a mile, but Florence Griffith gets the silver, and Ottey again gets the bronze. Gladish, look at her. She can lean forward even when she's sprinting all out. That's hard to do. Audie, you see in the yellow top, is kind of leaning back. That's hard. You want to keep that forward lean like Gladish. Quick, quick, quick steps. She just looks great. She's so much in control. You've got to be in control all the way through the 200. If you tie up, you're going to lose. Florence Griffith keeping her cool, coming on the last 10 meters for the silver. And I believe Pam Marshall was fourth.
The wind, it's all right. 1.16 meters per second. The limit, of course, as you know, is 2 meters per second.
And Silke Gladish adds the 200-meter gold to her 100-meter world championship. Florence Griffith of UCLA, an NCAA champion, Los Angeles native, takes the silver. That's a career best for her, 21.96. And Merlene Ottey of Jamaica, the bronze. Ahead, our friend Bud Green.
Britain is already out of the competition. This man, Torsten Voss, cleared easily on his first attempt. 6:10 3/4, a fine jump and good points for Voss. Voss's teammate, Christian Schenk, using the old-style straddle technique of high jump. Wait until you see this. This has not been done at this level for a long time. 7.4.5 with a straddle in the decathlon high jump. With that jump, Schenk moves from 12th to 2nd, and Thompson moves from 2nd to 5th.
Back in 1979, here are the lanes. Lane 1, Atlee Mahorn of Canada. John Regis of Great Britain is in 2. Floyd Hurd of the United States is in 3. Robson da Silva, Brazil, is in 4. Vladimir Krylov of the Soviet Union is in 5. Zio Canerve of France is in 6. Pier Francesco Pavoni of Italy is in 7. And Calvin Smith of the United States is in lane 8. Calvin is the defending champion. He's almost become the forgotten man of American sprinting, and yet he's having a great year.
He's having his best year since 1983. He's in lane 8, and the 200, I think, is the only event in track and field around the track where being in lane 8 can be an advantage because he's way away from them. He runs the turn very well. He could run away, and they could never catch him.
The key to the event, of course, is running the turn, and Calvin Smith does that chore as fine as anyone in the business.
And being in lane 8, the turn will be much more gradual, so he can actually run it faster.
All right, it's Mahorn, Regis, Floyd Hurd of the United States in 3, Da Silva, Krylov, Canerve, Pavoni of Italy in 7, and Calvin Smith of the United States outside in lane 8. And Pavoni, as you see, of Italy in 7 has that wrap, and he's had that since the finals of the 100. Another crowd on hand, a great crowd, more than 60,000 once again, and they do cheer for their Italians. They are cheering for Pavoni. Men's 200 meters. Smith, Pavoni, Canerve, Krylov, Da Silva, Brazil on the right. Moving inside is Hurd, Regis, Mahorn in lane 1. And it's a good start. Floyd Hurd in 3 does not get a good start. Pavoni is closing a bit on Smith outside, who is struggling. Krylov of the Soviet Union is running well inside. In lane 2, it is Regis, Da Silva, and Krylov. And here comes Calvin Smith outside. It's going to be close between John Regis in 2 and Calvin Smith outside in 8. Smith did not get a good start and did not pick up the distance that we thought that he would on the turn.
Calvin looked much better in the semifinals. He's on the left and the outside. John Regis in the white on the inside is not as far ahead as this angle leads you to believe, but Calvin Smith runs the straightaway very well. He was in 4th or 5th place coming off the turn. It wasn't an advantage being in front, and I think Calvin Smith hung on to win. Calvin not getting a good start. You can see that Pavoni on his inside is actually starting to make up the stagger. So Calvin not being able to see where everyone else was. He was much closer to the line in the semifinals. He did not run the turn well. You can see he's behind here, but he relaxes. Watch his head. It bobs back and forth because he's just staying relaxed, runs his own race down the straightaway, and I think he won it.
Unofficial 2017, a very good time.
Calvin Smith, like a great thoroughbred, rallying down the stretch to win by a photo, takes the gold. Gilles Canerve of France is 2nd. Great Britain's John Regis takes the bronze. Let's go to the gold medal winner, Calvin Smith.
Calvin, I was a little worried when you had lane 8, nobody to draw off of, but because of your leg not being 100%, you think maybe the less of a turn in lane 8 might have helped you?
I feel it definitely did, and I was very glad that I got lane 8, considering the little problem I had with my leg, because running a sharper turn would made me run a little slower, and there would be more pressure on my leg. But being way out and very little turn, it really helped.
Having to pull down those guys in the straightaway, though, did it concern you that your leg not being quite right, that it might let go on you?
Well, I didn't feel that it was going to pull. It's just a matter of keep going with the injury, with the pain, I mean. And I was able to do that. And the straight wasn't too bad. There was more pain in the turn than the straight.
Were you convinced at the finish line that you were number 1 because all the photographers went elsewhere?
Well, I wasn't sure. I knew that it was close, and I just wanted to see the replay and see how it turned out.
Congratulations, second-time world champion.
Thank you.
Calvin Smith.
Event in the decathlon is the 400 meters, and it was held in the rain at the end of a long first day. Daley Thompson in lane 3, two-time Olympic gold medalist, defending world champion, world record holder, a disaster on the first day. He had a bad 100. He was a foot short in the long jump, down 3 feet in the shot put, cleared only 6.7 in the high jump, trailing by 162 points coming into this event. Torsten Voss of East Germany, the man in first place. He needs to beat him here. 4.5 points for each 1/10 of a second. Daley Thompson, if he can beat him here, will have a good mindset for the second day, but more importantly, will pick up some valuable points. It is Voss and Thompson running 1, 2, and now Daley Thompson starts to drop back, and he will lose even more points. After the first day, he's in 3rd place. He is down 193 points. That is too much to make up on the second day.
So after the 400 meters, Daley Thompson sits 193 points off the lead, a seemingly insurmountable distance.
6th call is in 7, and Vallesilla is in 8. Lavana Martin with a good start in lane 3. Ashkenaz is next to her. Lane 4 is Ashkenaz out in front. Zagorcheva running second. It is Ashkenaz Zagorcheva, Ashkenaz Zagorcheva, Lavana Martin, and Picaro. Those 4 will move through to the finals.
Very interesting, because Ashkenaz came out slowly this season, and Zagorcheva has the world record. In the middle of your screen, Ashkenaz in the white bottom and the blue top gets out well, as does Lavana Martin on the right. But now she just pulls away. It's like the hurdles are not there. She just skims over the hurdle. She's very tall, very much in control. She beats Zagorcheva here, but of course this is the semifinal.
Her hurdles and I lost, so here we go. Martin, the 20-year-old from Tennessee, the only American in the final 8. She does not figure to medal.
And tried to take command of the race.
And he's running just fast enough to qualify. He pulls up on the shoulder of Marcus Riffle, waits to see who's going to go with him. It's Frank O'Mara from Ireland on his shoulder. Sidney Marie coming up on the way outside. Now they're in a bunch. Still, Almeida trying to control the race. Castro from Portugal comes up. Remember, the top 5 qualify. Here comes Doug Padilla trying to get into the top 5. He's in 6th. Sidney Marie from the U.S. on the outside looking good, but Almeida just running only as fast as he has to. Castro still looks good. Padilla starting to fade. He's going to be out of it. Marie still looking good in 4th place, but Saeed Almeida looking around, going only as fast as he needs to.
After the race was over, Saeed Almeida noticed that he had been spiked. He went back to the Belgian, Vincent Rousseau, and he pointed it out. Hey.
But if anyone was at fault, it was Almeida. Look, he just decides he wants that space. He pushes in ahead of Rousseau. He's the one that committed the foul, if anyone did. But I guess he just decided that no one spikes Saeed Almeida.
Well, you'll remember Eamon Coughlin won this event in Helsinki. Sidney Marie of the United States.
We're ready for the final of the women's 100 meters hurdle. the world record, and she is in lane 5. Is Ginka Zagorcheva of Bulgaria. And here are the lane assignments. Anne Picareau of France is in 1. Claudia Zatskiewicz of West Germany is 2. Jordanka Dankova of Bulgaria is in 3. Gloria Wiebel of East Germany is in 4. Ginka Zagorcheva, the world record holder, is in 5. Cornelia Ashkenaz of East Germany is in 6. Ivana Martin of the United States is in 7. And Laurence Elwa of France is in 8. 3 medals. But there are 4 contenders in 3, 4, 5, and 6. Dankova, Wiebel, Zagorcheva, Ashkenaz.
It's going to be a battle between the East Germans in blue and the Bulgarians in red. You see Zagorcheva in the red. She has the world record, 12:25. She got it this summer, but Ashkenaz, the tall woman right there in blue, she's been coming on strong right when it counts, and that's right now. She had the title championship indoor. She's very tall, but let's watch her start. She gets out very quickly, and she's 5'10".
This is the final women's 100 meters hurdles.
You barely see Dankova, one of the Bulgarians. She's getting into the block. You can see her right hand. She's missing 4 fingers from a childhood accident. She would rather be a heptathlete, but she's in the hurdles. Last year, she was untouchable, breaking the world record 4 times.
And out very quickly is Zagorcheva. Zagorcheva with a great start. Wiebel and Ashkenaz, the 2 East Germans are trailing, trying to close on her. Zagorcheva. It is Zagorcheva. She's going to win it, and she does.
Zagorcheva, she had it from the start. That was the key. She got out so quickly that no one could catch her.
And she has really raced a lot this year.
You see her right in the middle of your screen with red on towards the left. Out very quickly. She's over the first hurdle very quickly. Look how strong she is. These women, they don't hurdle, they run through the hurdles. That's the key. Very little time over the hurdles because they can snap that lead lid down so quickly. All the way through. She had the gold medal from the start to the finish. Quickly out of the blocks. She gets her step pattern down very fast. Look how strong she is. She attacks the hurdles. Also, she doesn't lean down with her upper body. She just lifts her knees. That's important. The hurdles are only 33 inches high. She wants to stay in running form throughout the whole race. It's a sprint race, not a hurdle race.
Zagorcheva, an unofficial 12:34. If it stands, that'll be a championship record. Gloria Wiebel of East Germany second. Cornelia Ashkenaz of East Germany finishes third. We'll be back with more of the World Championships from Rome.
Women's hurdles, no surprise there. The Eastern Bloc again with a sweep. The world record holder, Bulgaria's Ginka Zagorcheva, holds off 2 East Germans, Ubel and Ashkenaz. Young
Lane 7, they are the favorite. They will be challenged, though. And it was Lee McRae who led it off, then Lee McNeil, Harvey Glance, and Dennis Mitchell anchored. Now, remember, this is the first round. You nominate 6 men. You can make changes. We expect to see Carl Lewis anchoring in the finals. United States in lane 7. Lee McRae in the Spider-Man suit without the hood. But watch the rest of the U.S. team. He hands off to Lee McNeil.
Charlie, when you're good, you can hot dog, and the U.S. is the best team in this competition. In fact, on paper, they could probably assemble the 2 best teams. Whether or not these suits work, I don't know, but they still run very fast in them.
And they're a lot of fun. Harvey Glance, and he will hand off to Dennis Mitchell, who is anchoring. And the United States with a comfortable 38.80, moving through to the next round along with Hungary, who finished second in that heat. In Heat 3, the team to watch is Canada in lane 6. Jamaica also outside of them in lane 7. Why do you watch Canada? Because Ben Johnson is going to lead off. Now, normally, he does lead off. The question is, if they move through to the finals, will he anchor against Carl Lewis? We think so. Again, Canada outside in 6. Ben Johnson leading it off.
And Ben Johnson obviously running the fastest leg. But what happens is he runs up on the second leg, and that's the disadvantage in this kind of relay of having someone so fast in first rather than in last position, because you lose when you run up on the man.
And anchoring, of course, you can hit top speed and continue right through to the finish line.
You don't have the handoff. But Canada has a very, very good team. They'll be very strong in the final, but if they were going to use Ben Johnson in the final, they should probably practice him here. There'll be a lot of pressure to put him on the last leg in the final.
Mike Dwyer anchoring for Canada. Clive Wright for Jamaica. They finish 1-2. Canada's time, 38-4, is open. Brazil was scheduled there. They are not there. In 5 is West Germany. Canada is in 6. And East Germany, the defending champion, is in lane 7. And Silke Gladish will lead it off. Ashkenaz is running the second leg, and the reason that she is running the second leg is that Drechsler is hurt, is not going to participate. Barrett is running third, and Marlies Gurr will be anchoring for East Germany. East Germany in lane 7, Bulgaria in lane 1 with Zagorcheva, Nuneva, Georgieva, and Dankova.
Gladish gets such a quick start on the outside. They have a safe pass, underhanded pass. Oshkina looks well right here. Canada's on the inside. They have a strong team, but all here looks like all East Germany.
Bulgaria, meanwhile, in lane 1 is also running very well.
I noticed that Oshkina did not have that good of a pass, but it looks right now like that Isayenko of Canada in all red is pulling up on the third leg.
The 3 top finishers plus the 2 best times in the 2 semifinals will be moving through, and this is Marlies Gurr anchoring for East Germany. Is going to be Canada finishing second and West Germany third. They are through for sure. Second semifinal women's 4 by 100 meters relay. France is in 1, Italy in 2, India in 3, Great Britain is in 4, United States in 5, Soviet Union in 6, and Cuba is in 7. For the United States, Alice Brown will lead it off. Diane Williams, Florence Griffith, and Pam Marshall will anchor. The United States in lane 5 with Alice Brown and a great start leading it off. A chance to see how they will do against the Soviet Union. The Soviets not as strong as they have been in the past. A good baton exchange to Diane Williams, and Williams down the long back straight.
Diane Williams has the best speed on the U.S. team. She was 4th in the 100 final. I think the Americans are trying to have a safe pass here. They look fine so far.
Had to reach just a little on that last pass. Pam Marshall will be anchoring for the United States. Antonova will anchor for the Soviet Union.
Pam Marshall has great closing speed. She doesn't have a great start, but she looks very strong here.
And the United States safely moving through with the Soviet Union finishing second, and it's going to be a photo for third.
The U.S. team then qualifies with the fastest time today into the finals tomorrow. The Russians are a threat, but the East Germans, who won in Helsinki.
India in 5, France in 6, Kenya in 7, the Soviet Union in lane 8. The running order for the United States, Diane Dixon is running the first leg, Deneen Howard, Valerie Briscoe running third, first time that we've seen in the championships, and Lily Leatherwood King will anchor. The United States in lane 1. This is a 3-turn stagger in the lanes through the first runner and through the handoff to the second runner, and then they'll break for the pole.
Diane Dixon in lane 1 in all white. You would be a little upset with lane 1, but Diane Dixon grew up on the indoor board, so she's used to these tight turns.
The Soviet Union running well in lane 8. That's way outside. That's Yurchenko of the Soviet Union. It's Diane Dixon, Deneen Howard, Valerie Briscoe, and Lily Leatherwood King. That is the team for the United States, and there's Diane Dixon in lane 1. Again, we had that 3-turn stagger, so you really can't tell until after we've come off the next turn.
Diane Dixon is still running well right here. It's so hard to tell, like you said, Charlie, but the United States just wants to qualify today.
Olga Nazarova of the Soviet Union is running second for the United States. That is Deneen Howard. And now they will begin to sort out as Deneen Howard running inside, the Soviets running way outside.
She's going for it. It looks like she has the lead, and you want to be up towards the front because you don't want to get all in the way when you're handing off with other runners. You want to be up towards the front because it's so hard to be in the back and go through the exchange zone with so many other runners around you. They're playing it very smart right here.
Nazarova of the Soviet Union has the lead over Deneen Howard of the United States, and Canada is running third, and that's Molly Killingbeck of Canada in third place.
The Soviets are in the lead right now, and they have the best time in the world this year of 3:20, so they are a very strong team.
Benignia of the Soviet Union will be running the third leg, and here's Valerie Briscoe of the United States running the third leg, and Marita Payne of Canada is running the third leg. 1, 2, 3. Now the 3 top finishers plus the 2 next best times moving through to tomorrow's final.
Look at Valerie. She's just concentrating on the Soviet woman's back. She looks very relaxed here. She's ready for this 4x400 relay, and there she goes.
Valerie Briscoe challenged for the lead. Benigna holds her off on the turn.
That's what you want to do, because on the turns, it's harder to pass there. Soviet woman is holding Valerie off, and it's not smart to pass on the turn. It's harder on your body. You waste a lot of energy.
And now Valerie Briscoe, moving just a little outside, is not going to close that much more. And so right now, the Soviet Union winning the mind games in this semifinal.
And you don't want to go all out here. You want to qualify, you want to run well, but you've got a final yet to go, so you want to conserve a little bit of energy.
Olga Brizgina of the Soviet Union is anchoring, and Lily Leatherwood King is anchoring for the United States, and Julian Richardson is anchoring for Canada.
I wouldn't be surprised here if Lily Leatherwood is just going to play it safe. Run a good race. She's going to qualify unless she drops the baton. But the final is left, and Brizgina won the 400 open race. She's very strong. Lily has the best finish, but she looks just very relaxed. She's just running to qualify.
So it is the Soviet Union out in front. This is Lily Leatherwood King of the United States running second. Canada is third, and France is fourth, and that is the order that they will finish in this semifinal heat. So the Soviet Union, the United States, and Canada safely through 3:20.77.
Very fast time. That's one of the fastest times in the world this year.
And here are the qualifiers for tomorrow's final. The United States with a chance for a medal, finishing behind the Soviet Union in that semi. Fifth down, the Federal Republic of Germany. The East Germans are without Marita Koch, their great world record holder.
CLA Invitational track meet. Charlie Jones is standing by with that race.
10-meter hurdles. But first, let's go to Dave Sims as he has a chance to visit with Bob Beeman. Dave?
Gentlemen, who holds one of the greatest records in track and field history. Bob Beeman, long jump, 29.2½. Bob, a little unusual not to have your event here at the UCLA meet.
Well, I think it's because Carl is pulled out because he is wanting to concentrate on the 100 meters. And, of course, he lost in the World Championships a year ago, and I think he wants to come back to redeem himself and be ready for the Olympic trials.
Tell the folks what you're doing these days.
Well, I'm the national spokesman for Glaxo Pharmaceutical, and I go around talking about hypertension around the country. And I'm a patient of hypertension, so it's very important that I get the message across.
Yes, indeed it is. Do you think your record will be broken anytime soon?
Well, I think it should be pretty soon, and I think the person most logically to do it is Carl Lewis. He most certainly has the talent, and he's only 6 inches away from it.
That is not a long distance away, not at all. Bob Beeman with us.
And the word Beemanesque, created because of the event and the happening that you just saw that took place in the Olympics in Mexico City. Men's 110-meter hurdles, world and American record. 12:93 held by Ronaldo Nehemiah. He was in this field a couple of weeks ago. He was in Los Angeles working out, had a little of a sprain, did not want to take a chance. All right, lane 1. Andrew Parker, the Pan Am champion. Lane 2, in the glasses, is Cletus Clark. Robert Redding is in 3 from USC. He was in the NCAAs yesterday, got bumped and hit a hurdle. Dave Ashford is in lane 4. Greg Foster, 2-time world champion. He has won here 8 times. He's the favorite in lane 5. And Roger Kingdom is in lane 6, gold medalist, Olympic Games, 1984. In lane 7, Ike Maduga. In lane 8 is Steve Kerho. And in lane 9 is James McCraney. The 2 lanes to watch, 5 and 6, Greg Foster in 5, and Roger Kingdom in 6. Here's a look at Foster.
Charlie, one of the incredible things about Greg Foster is not only his consistency, but he doesn't get hurt. He goes years and years without a major injury. Ronaldo Nehemiah showing that you do get strains, but Greg Foster just seems to go day in and day out without getting those little aches and pains.
Set. Off your mark. And we'll bring him up. Kingdom, of course, in lane 6, upset Foster. for the Olympic title in 1984. And earlier this year, indoors at the Milrose Games, I believe it was, when I made the statement that Roger Kingdom had become the forgotten man of hurdling. And he took umbrage to that and said that eventually that I would eat my words. And I hope that he's true. I hope that he comes back and continues to run as well as he has been running recently.
Well, for the last 2.5 years, he's been fighting a hamstring injury. Just like I mentioned before, Greg Foster doesn't get hurt. Roger Kingdom was hurt for over 2 years, but he's coming back. He's run very, very well this year.
Cletus Clark in lane 2, charged with the false start. Greg Foster in lane 5.
Set.
Great. He attended UCLA, and we've got a recall gun and a second false start.
I think Greg Foster was a little lucky there because he started to draw up. He thought it was a false start, began to go. They hadn't called it back yet. If they hadn't called it back, he would have been in real trouble.
And that has happened to him in the past. Knowing the rules of, reading it immediately and then reacting, and that's a luxury you cannot afford.
No, you can't depend on the judges to always do it your way.
False start called on Roger Kingdom, and so Cletus Clark has one, and Roger Kingdom has one. Second false start, you are eliminated from the field. You're allowed one. Parker, Clark, Redding, Ashford, Foster, Kingdom, Maduga, Kerhoe, and McCrane. Again, Greg Foster in 5, Roger Kingdom in 6. And this time it is a fair start, and Foster has the start, and Foster has the lead. Now Kingdom tries to pull on it. It is Foster. It is Foster and Kingdom. Foster and Kingdom. Kingdom now takes it. He has it by half a meter. Roger Kingdom coming from behind. Greg Foster had the strong start.
This is raced by Roger Kingdom. Leading time in the world.
Greg Foster had the advantage on the start because he didn't do a false start. Roger Kingdom had to hold back a little bit. So Greg Foster leading over the 5th and 6th hurdle, but here comes Roger Kingdom showing that the hamstring is no problem, and there wasn't anything in that race to show that Roger Kingdom is not an Olympic champion caliber athlete, because he beat Greg Foster right in Foster's race, right at the point in the race where Foster is usually very strong.
Unofficially, Kingdom, Foster, with Cletus Clark finishing 3rd, Steve Kerhoe coming in 4th, and the look from the point of view camera.
And in the middle of the screen, you can see Greg Foster right in the middle, coming over the hurdle. At this point, he's ahead.
100-meter, the world and American record held by Lee Evans, 43.86. That is the oldest record in the book. It goes back to the Mexico City Olympic Games of 1968, and it took place before the Bob Beeman record. The low-altitude record is held by Butch Reynolds. We've got some lane changes. We'll give them to you as we go. They are late changes. Chris Whitlock is in 1. Sunday Uti is in 2. Antonio McKay is in 3. He and Innocent Egbunike, who is in 4, they would be the co-favorites. But an interesting story involving Howard Burnett, who is 27 years old, a freshman at New York Tech, did not start running until he was 22. A Jamaican policeman is in 5. Roddy Haley is in 6. Greg Washington is in 7. And Bemiti Green is in lane 8. So there is a look at the lane assignments, but you would have to, Frank Shorter, here I believe it'd be the pick would either be Antonio McKay in 3 or Innocent Egbunike in 4, but a lot of it depends on where they are this time of the year.
Right now, these athletes don't want to be peaked. Usually, in any off-Olympic year, they would want to be ready to go to Europe right now, but they have the Olympic trials, their selections coming up. They don't want to be as good as they can possibly be this year yet. But Antonio McKay has the advantage in lane 3 because he can watch Innocent Egbunike in lane 4 the whole way, and they are the 2 favorites.
Whitlock, Uti, McKay, Egbunike, Burnett, Haley, Washington, and Green. And it is Egbunike making up part of the stagger on Howard Burnett, and is opening some air over Antonio McKay. And so it is Innocent Egbunike, second fastest all time at sea level, who has the lead on the back straight.
He's running very fast. He's slowing down a little bit. Antonio McKay starting to come back on them. You don't really know until they get on the straightaway just who is ahead, but it looks like Egbunike is ahead. McKay in third or fourth place at this point.
And Roddy Haley is challenging outside, and here comes Roddy Haley after Egbunike, and he takes him down the final straight. It is Haley, Egbunike, and McKay. And it is Roddy Haley who is going to take the men's 400 meters. An unofficial 44.8 for Roddy Haley.
Sometimes the athletes forget that the 400 is a race of pace. You cannot go out too fast. Innocent Egbunike out too fast. Roddy Haley on his outside, looking much smoother. You can see in the slow motion just that his rhythm, his turnover is faster, just faster. He saved himself, timed it perfectly. He's running very, very well. Roddy Haley taking a year off from school to train for the Olympics. Looks like he's made a good decision.
Roddy Haley, former two-time NCAA champion from Arkansas. He's with Dwight Stone.
Roddy, we're so used to watching you go out so crazy the first 200 meters and not being able to hang on. You ran that race a little bit differently today.
Well, yeah, I got out, well, you might as well say under control. And main thing, this is my first race, and I just was trying to get out and come in strong. Which I thought I did a good job.
Is that how you're going to change your tactics? Have you finally found out that if you keep going out real fast in the beginning, you can't make it through 3 or 4 rounds?
Well, this is just the first time out. I'm going to pick the pace up. Nothing's changed. I'm just going to be in a lot better shape this year and hope to be able to hold on.
You can hold on for 6 more weeks?
Oh, yeah. I'll hold on for 6 more weeks.
6 weeks of the Olympic trials. Roddy Haley, Egbunike, Antonio McKay, Howard Burnett comes in fourth. That's unofficially. We'll be right back after these words from your local station.
So far this year, Deneen Howard, who's also in the field, has run faster than Valerie this year.
Should be good. We'll have that in just a moment. But right now, let's go down to Dwight Stone.
I'm here with Fred Thompson, who is the women's sprint and hurdle and relay coach for the 1988 U.S. Olympic team. And Fred, about the strength of this women's 400 field today, this is really loaded.
It's a very, very good field. I'm glad Valerie decided to run. I've seen her run earlier in the season. She had a small injury, and she ran 50 point on the relay, so I know she was okay. Deneen Howard is having a great year, and I'm glad to see Sherry back. She's had injuries for 2 or 3 years. Gwen Torrance is running in the race, and Gwen Torrance is primarily a sprinter, and she's doing the work for strength work, but I wouldn't be surprised at what she does.
How do you feel about the overall strength of our sprint and relay and hurdle crew?
I'm so happy. Watched them all during the season, and they seem to be planning very well. I think we're going to have the best sprint relay crew we've ever had.
Women's 400 meters. The world record 47.60. Marita Koch holds that record. The American record is 48.83. Held by Valerie Briscoe, who is in this field. The lane assignments. Kathy Rattray Williams is in 1. Julie Harris in 2. Valerie Briscoe is in 3. Gwen Torrance in 4. Deneen Howard is in 5. Judy Brown King is in 6. Sherry Howard is in 7. Ira Sakari is in lane 8. And the favorite here is Valerie Briscoe, running in lane 3.
Valerie's main adversary in this race may be herself. She has a tendency to go out too fast, and so if she does go out too fast, she will tie up and others will pass her. Let's see how well she does for the first half.
And very quickly, she made up the stagger on Gwen Torrance, who has gone up in distance. We'll see her in the 100 and 200 at the trials and possibly in the Olympic Games. Deneen Howard in lane 5 is the challenger of Valerie Briscoe. It is Briscoe and Howard as they come off of the turn to the final straight, and Deneen Howard is going to challenge Valerie Briscoe. And Gwen Torrance is beginning to pick up some ground, and it is Deneen Howard in front, and Briscoe is tying up, and it is Torrance who is going to challenge her for second, and it is going to be Deneen Howard upsetting Valerie Briscoe. a surprise.
Yes, and just as what we thought might happen, Valerie Briscoe was out very fast coming down the straightaway. Right here, you can see Valerie Briscoe in the center of the screen really begins to tie up, and there's nothing you can do when this happens. If you look, Deneen Howard is just much smoother. Valerie Briscoe is almost standing up and leaning backwards, but Deneen Howard driving right through to the finish. She is a very fit lady.
Unofficially, Deneen Howard, the time 50.5. Valerie Briscoe is second, and Gwen Torrance finishes third. Let's go down to Dwight Stone.
Charlie, I've got Deneen Howard down here. This has got to be a very big victory for you, young lady.
Yes, it is. If the time is right, it's my PR, and I'm training really good this year, really strong, really confident. I want to run a really good time here.
A lot of people try to wonder where you've been since 1980.
Played with a lot of injuries, but now I'm healthy. I'm looking for a good year.
You pleased with the progress up to this point now that we're just about 6 weeks until the Olympic trials?
Yes, I am. I'm very pleased. I'm right at where I want to be, and things are going really well.
Look terrific.
Thank you.
And the smiling face of Deneen Howard just 6 weeks before the Olympic trials. There are the official results. Deneen Howard's time, 50.42, which is a personal best, with Briscoe, Torrance, and Howard finishing behind her in the women's.
Formerly of Fresno State, an outstanding college vaulter, best jump of 18:11.5. Waiting for the wind here. It's been swirling. It's been tough on some of the straightaway events, some of the oval events. Now it looks like he feels he has a tailwind behind him. And he has to hold up. As I said, this wind has been really swirling around this afternoon. He is currently leading the event with a first attempt clearance at 18.4.5. To be a good pole vaulter, you've got to have great speed down the runway. And obviously, just before this last attempt, he made 18.4.5 very, very easily, driving through into the box. But he had a little bit of trouble on that last run-up. The wind is so important to the pole vaulters because speed is such an integral part of this event.
Here are the results of event number 12, the women's 800 meters. Women's 800 meters. The winner, Julie.
So we await the proper elements.
2:00:59. That is the fastest outdoor time in the world this year. 2:00:59 for Julie.
Before Mike Tully's final attempt at 18.4.5, it hit him right in the face just before he was ready to take off. And he has to go under. Again, such a big problem. They're carrying such heavy poles and take a lot of strength and speed to bend them. If the wind's not right, you can't have a successful attempt.
Dwight, we'll go back and pick up some more official results for you here. Roger Kingdom upsetting Greg Foster in a time of 13:30, and that is the fastest time in the world this year. Clark and Kerhoe finishing third and fourth. Roddy Haley had to come from behind to win the men's 400 meters, and his winning time was 44.76 over Egbunike. And we'll be back with more of our coverage in just a moment.
An all-time best performance by an American, just clips it with his backside slightly under-rotated on top of the bar, but a view you never usually get to see of the high jump and the pole vault from our point of view camera.
So interesting that this is a situation, you know, with that camera, you know, we make a quick call or a quick assumption on what the vaulter or what the jumper did wrong, and with this point of view camera, you can see immediately it was the knee, it was the foot, or as you say, he tried to put the bar right back on. It makes it a lot of fun.
Well, it would be a great tool for the athletes from an analysis standpoint. For example, with Earl Bell, he got his feet down too early. He got the peak of his jump actually out in front of the bar and was losing altitude, much the same way as a plane would in a stall. And if he knew that, he could make an adjustment with his poles, with his run-up, or with the standard location, and really be able to improve on the success rate of his jump. Be a great analysis tool for the athletes as well.
What's happening now in the pole vault?
Well, I know Doug Fraley has jumped 18.4.5 first attempt. He is leading the competition. He knows he's got a lot more in him than that, but this wind is not cooperating. You can see the stern expression on his face. He's hoping for a consistent tailwind, or even maybe just no wind at all. The worst thing a pole vaulter can have is wind in the face. It probably more affects them psychologically than anything else, because they feel like they can't get the maximum speed that they need to bend the pole that they've chosen. When they get to jumping this high, 18.8 1/4, they're bending a pretty heavy pole, pretty stiff pole, and they need a good tailwind so that they can get the speed that they need to bend it. You can see a pole vaulter's pole holding the bar on. That's how much wind there is, but it's not blowing in that direction enough to blow off, or else you would see Doug Fraley jumping right now. He wants the kind of tailwind behind him that would blow the bar off if that was possible, and he's just waiting for that situation right now. Looks like he may be ready to go.
Is there a time limit, Dwight?
Yes, there's a 3-minute time limit, but in meets like this, they're a little more lenient when the wind is not cooperating and when they've gotten the field down to just 2 or 3 jumpers. But in international competitions, they don't have that kind of sense of humor.
You are invited to have your check, please.
Just misses it. And you can see he was thinking about 6 steps away, thinking about aborting the run-up because he did not have the kind of favorable wind conditions that he would have liked. He was really capable of jumping much higher today, but that's one of the problems here at Ring Stadium. They've got swirling winds out here. Sometimes it blows great behind them, sometimes in their face. Just barely missed it with the right side on the way up. He just lost momentum. Now let's take a look from the point of view. You see his feet coming up. It looks like he has enough to make it, but then he starts running out of speed, hits it with his right side.
Another inch.
And then it just flies off.
Back up.
Not a bad attempt considering his run-up.
That's a great shot, too.
You bet it is.
All right, earlier we had the men's 800 meters. That race is on videotape, and we'll go back and pick up the last lap. 52 flat, and Kirsch trying to get through, and does get through on the inside, and is now running second with Jack Armour running third, and so it took a lap for it to sort itself out, and it is Stanley Redwine, and then George Kirsch.
George Kirsch, the high school phenom, now a freshman in college. He is really the bright hope for America in the 800 meters. It's just a question of how much he's going to improve this year in the Olympic year. Eventually, he's going to be a world-class record setter, but how fast is he growing up?
Roosevelt Jackson is running third. Jack Armour is running fourth. It is Stanley Redwine as we come down the final straight with George Kirsch running second, and it is Roosevelt Jackson trying to challenge and now falling back, and Armour will challenge for third. But Redwine is striding away with the men's 800 meters, and Kirsch is going to have to hang on for second, and the winner is Stanley Redwine.
Stanley Redwine used that break to his advantage. He got through on the inside with about 100 meters to go in the first lap and just powered through the second lap. Very, very good race for him.
An unofficial 1:45.8 for Stanley Redwine. That was unofficial. This is official. Stanley Redwine's winning time, 1:45.75. And we'll be right back with more of the Las Vegas Festival right after this. So stay with us this afternoon here on NBC. The weather continues to, although a bit of a breezy afternoon, continues to be very pleasant as rain was expected last night in this area and it did not come to pass. The women's 100 meters, the world and American record. Evelyn Ashford is the holder, and the time is 10:76. So let's take a look at the lane assignments here in the women's 100. It'll be Grace Jackson in 1, Danette Young is in 2, Alice Brown is in 3, Diane Williams is in 4, Michelle Finn is in 5, Jennifer Ennis is in 6, Sheila Eccles is in 7, and Zelda Johnson is in lane 8. Now, one of the things that you obviously have noticed and have noticed in the past of any television coverage, or if you've been here at Drake Stadium on the campus of UCLA, it's a beautiful facility, is the fact that the sprints run the opposite way. And so you have 2 finish lines, whereas in the Olympic Stadium in Seoul and in most other stadiums you have a common finish line. This, of course, the movement made here, the change made here due to the prevailing winds coming off of the ocean.
And even though Dwight said the winds swirl, that's more on the infield. Out on the track, they tend to go from the south to the north, so it really does help the sprinters.
That's Diane Williams in lane 4, gloves and all. And Mike Tully is in the pole vault. And so we'll be going back and forth. Dwight Stones has that coverage. And we'll be keeping an eye on Mike Tully and also an eye on the women's 100 meters. As we come back to the race, Tully is getting ready to go. Dwight?
19 feet, a half inch. New meet and stadium record. That was not a very well-placed whistle as Mike went up. If I were him, I would ask for another a judgment call by the official on getting another jump. Of course, I would always do things like that.
Diane Williams in lane 4, who we had the shot of, and right now we would consider her the favorite be challenged probably by Michelle Finn in 5 and Alice Brown in 3, although Alice has not been running that well. Diane has become a designer and is designing her outfits and has one very attractive that would draw your attention. Grace Jackson in 1 came up too soon.
It's a pretty smart thing to do, what Diane Williams is attempting here by wearing the gloves. It's not helping her run any faster, but what it is doing, it's making the other women think a little bit about her. And the one thing you want when you're a competing athlete is to have the other athletes maybe thinking about you a little more than they are about themselves in their race. So it's pretty smart.
What are the other mind games that they play?
Well, the sprinters' games, I think, are mostly in the start. We saw in the hurdles that Roger Kingdom tried to get a little jump on Greg Foster, and then it worked to his disadvantage because then he had to hold back a little at the start of the race. So I think in the start, especially where they're giving you a false start, you can try to outguess the starter, especially if you don't feel you're the fastest person in the race.
Women's 100 meters. Alice Brown is in 3. Diane Williams in 4, Michelle Finn is in 5. And this is a fair start. And it is Alice Brown. Alice Brown and then Michelle Finn. And outside of Michelle Finn, it is Sheila Eccles. And Sheila Eccles trying to pull off the upset as she came outside from lane 7. 1987 NCAA long jump champion from LSU. Also, she has been ranked as high as number 6 among the Americans in this event, the women's 100 meters. But we continue to have upsets here today.
But should we be so surprised? Carl Lewis can be a world record holder, possibly in the long jump, and yet he's been the best in the world in the 100. So Sheila Eccles shows that you need speed to be a long jumper, and she certainly has it for the 100 meters. This will make her confident for the Olympic trials in the 100 and in the long jump.
Meanwhile, Diane Williams finished next to last in the field of 8. As Sheila Eccles pulls off the upset in the women's 100 meters, with Jackson finishing second. We, of course, still are unofficial with our results. All right, Dwight, are you ready? Dwight's getting organized. Go ahead, Dwight.
Sheila Eccles, another one of an awful lot of upsets today. How did you feel going into this race with this field that you had to run against?
Well, I felt pretty tired in my warm-up, but my workouts have been going well, so I figured I'd run pretty good.
Are you surprised at running so well against this field, though?
Well, not really, because it's still early, you know.
Did you think that the wind that was going to be here invariably on this facility was going to help anybody else other than you? You're very slightly built.
Well, they said the wind was like a crosswind, but it really didn't bother me too much.
How does this set you for 6 weeks from now in the Olympic trials?
Well, I still got to train hard, so still have to train hard.
Congratulations.
All right.
It's going to be 6 long, hard weeks. The wind, by the way, was okay, 1.42. We'll be back in just a moment.
Nice tailwind, and look at this jump. Absolutely no problem whatsoever. The bar then blew off because of the wind, and after a couple of seconds, they decided it was the wind that had blown it off. Mike had not hit it. He gets in beautiful position here and almost shuts it down off the pole. That was a 5-6-inch clearance, maybe enough for an American record on that particular jump. Now, our point of view camera, and you can see that he doesn't hit it with anything. This is at 19 feet 3/4 of an inch, and you can see how much of a clearance he had on that. He has had the bar raised to 19 4 3/4 for a personal record, and back up to Charlie Jones for the men's 100 meters.
And a good look at the pole vault, a very interesting look at the pole vault, Frank. I like that camera. And now an interesting look at the men's 100 meters. The world record, well, you saw it on NBC, the World Championship, King Johnson's 9.83. And the American record, Carl Lewis and Calvin Smith tied at 9.93. And we have an excellent field here today in the men's 100 meters. In lane 1 is Michael Bates. Rex Brown is in 2. Brian Cooper is in 3. Ron Brown, coming from the Rams, is in 4. Back to track and field. Carl Lewis is in 5. Mark Witherspoon is in 6. Harvey Glantz is in 7. And there has been a scratch in 8. And Mark McNeil will move from 9 up to the 8th lane. That is the latest report that we have. The middle of the field, Brian Cooper, Ron Brown, Carl Lewis, Mark Witherspoon. The race should be in there. You're looking at Carl Lewis in lane 5.
Carl's not in peak form, but he's a very hard trainer. People don't remember how hard Carl really works to get as good as he is. He's a tremendous natural talent, but he trains a lot. And so I don't think he's quite peaked, but he'll run fast. Now we have the change that has now been changed back. The change in 8 is Patrick Nwanko of Nigeria is in 8, and Mark McNeil stays in lane 9. Ron Brown, of course, as you know, won here in 1983 and 84, played professional football with the Rams. He saw the World Championships on NBC, decided to make a comeback, is retired from professional football, said that his next professional sport may be baseball. Right now, he has this race on his mind, and 6 weeks from now, the trials, as he will try to work his way onto the Olympic team. Cooper in 3, Brown in 4, Lewis in 5, and Witherspoon in 6. And Michael Bates, the high school junior from Tucson in lane 1, comes up a little quick. Very good example of nerves. You're there, probably the biggest race of his life, and he just couldn't hold it.
When you look at this field, Frank, I believe you'd have to say that lane 3, that Brian Cooper has the best start. Cooper, Brown, and Witherspoon. Cooper, Lewis, and Witherspoon all have been training together. And that's Brian Cooper in 3.
So they all know, really, who is in the best condition, who's the most peaked. And so I think it really has an effect in this kind of race. Maybe around the Olympics, they may not train together as much, but at this point, I think they all benefit from doing it.
And also the fact that normally this time of year, they would be in peak condition for this event and to go right to Europe, but now they don't want to peak this soon. They want to peak in exactly 6 weeks at the Olympic trials. There's Carl Lewis in 5. The new Carl Lewis. He's a lot more fun to be around. I enjoy him. And this is a fair start, and in 3 it is Brian Cooper. Cooper has a start, and here comes Carl Lewis after him. Can Lewis catch him? It is Brian Cooper and Carl Lewis, and Lewis gets there. Witherspoon unofficially is 3rd, and Ron Brown unofficially is 4th. And a good showing for Carl Lewis. I think much more outgoing this year than he was in 1984.
And he's showing that he's got a lot of experience, because if there were ever an example of pacing yourself in 100 meters, that's what Carl Lewis did. He saw he had 30 meters to go, put on just enough speed to catch Brian Cooper. He didn't want to go too hard and punch it too hard, because that's when you can pull. A cautious race, but it shows him that he's in very good shape.
Carl, you kept the race very well together the last 10 meters. You could have tightened up with Brian Cooper right there, but you kept on running. What did you feel about the race?
Well, Dwight, I felt that I came out okay, but Brian's a great starter, and the thing I have to do is run relaxed at the end. People that have been beating me are coming out well, and I have to run the best part of my race, the best, and that's the end.
That still was not one of the worst starts I've ever seen you have.
No, I felt pretty good. I've had a little stomach problem, but I feel really good today, and I felt I was ready to run well, and I'm really pleased.
Are you pleased with where you are relative to 6 weeks from now when you've got to run all those rounds at the trials?
Well, I think I'm in excellent shape right now. This is only my 3rd 100, and one of my blocks slipped, so I feel things are coming great, and I'm just looking forward to a great season.
Are we going to see a long jump between now and the trials?
No, the next one will be the trials, so I'll be ready to roll, but main thing is getting through the trials and getting to the games and getting that man back.
All righty.
He told us that the Olympics, well, they are his. We'll be back in just a moment. Coming up soon, the men's mile. Round and rounds. Lewis, by the way, Carl Lewis' unofficial time was his official time, 10:13. In the men's 100, it is official with Cooper 2nd, Witherspoon 3rd, and Ron Brown finishing 4th. So while we have that, we can look forward to the next event, which is the men's mile with Steve Scott and Jim Spivey. Joaquin Cruz, I would figure, would be your top 1, 2, 3. When you think of the men's mile in the United States, you think of Steve Scott. And Steve Scott has been ranked the #1 miler 9 times, but we have not had the milers coming up behind him, Frank, that I thought that we would over the years.
Many people thought Jim Spivey would really come on strongly and replace Steve Scott, and Jim Spivey did win a bronze medal in the World Championships last summer, but if you look at Jim Spivey's workouts, how he trains and how he performs in races, he never quite does as well in the races as he does on the training track. So he may make a breakthrough, but Joaquin Cruz is really one of the greatest talents ever to come along in the mile, perhaps since Jim Ryan. But he's fast and fragile. He just gets hurt, and he's been very hurt for the last 2 or 3 years, finally coming back. So this is a very, very interesting race. Everyone in Brazil is going to be watching this race to see what happens with Joaquin Cruz.
And while we're waiting, let's take a look at the winning triple jump. And it is Willie Banks, and bringing the crowd to their feet here. Personality and talent personified. Willie Banks. And we'll check to get the winning distance for Willie Banks' winning triple jump for you as we chase that information down. We still are getting set for the mile. By the way, the world record is 3:46.32. Steve Cram of Great Britain set that in Oslo in 1985. The American record, Steve Scott, 3:47.69, set that in 1982. Also at Bislett Stadium in Oslo, which is a very, very unique track. Banks, 55 feet 3.5 inches, the winning triple jump. The entire field with Steve Scott in 1, Jim Spivey in 2. And we talked to Cruz this morning, as his name has been pronounced several ways. He pronounces it Joaquin Cruz. Chuck Aragon is in 4, Tim Hacker's in 5, Dub Myers is in 6, Brian Therio is in 7, Ian Alson is in 8, Brian Abshire is in 9, and Tony Young is in 10. So it is a good field here for the men's mile, and the weather continues to stay very lovely here in Southern California, Frank.
And what's going to make this race so great is if a rabbit goes out and really pushes the pace, we'll see a very, very fast race. It'll be exciting. If no one goes out and it goes slowly, Cruz and Scott can really sprint, and Spivey's right in there with them. So no matter which way it goes, it's going to be exciting.
And we understand that Tony Young outside in lane 10 may be the pace setter. Joaquin Cruz, we have a false start on the mile. This, save the tape. If you're taping this at home, save this, because very seldom do you have a false start in the mile.
I wonder what kind of effect that can have on a race like the mile, because these athletes aren't used to it. They aren't used to going and then mentally having to stop and come back, whereas the sprinters are. They expect it, and in practice they start and start, but not the milers.
Do you think they would laugh and come back and say, you got to be kidding? Who was that?
No, I think the reaction is, oh no, and gosh, I'd be 30 seconds into it by now.
Okay, the results are the same. It was not a false start. It was a problem with the AccuTrack with the timer, as it did not start. The results as far as the athletes is still the same. They have to then come back. We talked about Joaquin Cruz. He made his mile debut here at this meet in 1984. He ran a 3:53 flat, and now we go to Mike Tully. That is live. His first attempt. No, not that good an attempt. He'll have 2 more. He has 2 remaining attempts, and now let's look at it from the point of view. Caught it with his foot. Just hooked it. With his left foot as he came over. Well, that's a great training device, isn't it? Now there's a sprint to the sprint finish line, or a missing piece for the AccuTrack timer. No, so we'll go with it right now, and we'll go with hand timing. And it is Tony Young who is going to set the pace as he moves very quickly to the front from the outside lane assignment of lane 10.
In the middle of the summer, I don't think it would be smart to hand time a race like this, because there'd be a potential record. With Cruz and Scott in the field, you might have a record, but now I don't think they're going to run that fast. 3:52, 3:53, maybe. It probably will be more tactical.
It is Tony Young, Steve Scott running 1-2. Chuck Aragon is running 3. Joaquin Cruz is running 4, and that's about what we expected to see up front. Dub Myers, then Tim Hacker, and then Jim Spivey as we move back through the pack.
Cruz is lagging a little bit behind, but with him, he's such an incredible athlete, and he runs so easy at fast pace, it's really hard to tell whether he's tired or not.
58 flat, Tony Young, the pace setter.
It's right where it should be, but he'll probably speed up a little bit because his orders were probably to go 57, 56.5 for the first lap. So yes, he's sped up a little bit. Steve Scott not letting him get too far ahead. And Scott is having a very good year. He's very fit. He's run all his races very well. He's very confident. Steve has a great ability to time his peak and to time his conditioning.
And it is Tony Young, the pace setter, with Chuck Aragon, with Steve Scott behind him, and then Chuck Aragon, and then Joachim Cruz. They're running 2, 3, and 4 with a little pack of their own behind the pace setter.
And Cruz going right where he wants to be, in fourth place, out wide so that he doesn't get boxed. But now it's a tactical race. Scott is moving out a little bit. Everyone's being very polite. This won't happen in the Olympics, but they're giving each other space. They're not bumping. This is an American race. This is not a European race.
And the split for Scott, a 1:58.
So that was a 60-second 400 meters. So they're not going to run any records. It is going to be tactical. With Scott in the lead in this pack, you might think, oh, he shouldn't be there because he's going to just take it out of himself. But Scott has an ability to lead. He's one of those rare athletes who can lead these kind of races and run very well. Cruz, if you watch him in third place, he's so much fun to watch because most of these athletes, it's hard to tell how fast they're going because they look the same, whether they're going 55-second pace or 60-second pace. Cruz lopes along, and then when he starts to sprint, he's a totally different runner.
And so, as you saw, Tony Young stepping off the pace setter, and it is now Steve Scott, Chuck Aragon, Joachim Cruz, Tim Hacker, and Jim Spivey. As we come to the bell lap.
And don't count out Jim Spivey. He's right in the back of that pack. He's right in there, too. He may be the fastest, but Cruz, if Cruz is fit, is the fastest of anybody here.
2:57.9.
Another 60 seconds for the 400 meters, so it will be a sprint. Aragon takes it out. He knows he doesn't have the best basic speed, so he's got to go. Scott hanging right with him, and here comes Cruz.
Joachim Cruz is in third. It is Chuck Aragon. Steve Scott.
Now Scott's turning it on. He must feel good because he's passing on the turn.
He does feel strong.
He must feel very strong because he's not even waiting. Here comes Cruz.
And it is Scott. And it is Cruz. As Cruz takes second, it goes after Steve Scott.
And he's going to nail him.
Can Scott hold him off? Oh, I think Scott just held him off. You'll have to go to the photo to see if it was Scott or Cruz. An unofficial 3:53.8.
Great last 400 meters.
The men's mile. We await the official results. We'll be back in just a moment.
'92 fun things going on in town this weekend, and you're hearing about it on CARE 92.5. It's a party going